All right, welcome everybody. We are here live tonight, and hallelujah, we made it. Yeah, we did. All right, so good to be here, and hopefully everybody's doing fine. And we're going to be praying for people and just talking and sharing and doing all kinds of things. Okay, so get ready for that. All right. All right, we are on, and for some reason it wasn't wanting to load up, but it is now. So thank God. All right, everyone, we're here, and it is good to be here tonight. Welcome to the show. It is Monday, and boy, we had a lot of stuff going to the bridge lately. Really, really amazing stuff. And we're going to talk about all of it, of course, the best we can. And so there you go. That's what we're going to do. And that's really, really good because we need to talk about it, right? Yeah. All right. If you need prayer tonight, please let me know. You can text me at 214. Let me put that up here for you. 214 505 8719, and let's go there with that. If you need to get a hold of me, you can text me right there and let me know that you're on the show or that you want prayer, whatever your thing is or whatever you need. We'd be happy to get it to you and pray for you and believe God with you tonight. I do have air conditioning working, but I think I turned it down too much or up or whatever. Yeah. All right, so let's get cooking tonight. I'd like to talk about some of that change shirts because the other shirts mess with me. All right, good to be here tonight. We're going to talk about the chip tonight a little bit, and I'm going to talk about that and confront that a little bit here. Get my chair working right. Yeah. So we're going to talk about the chip tonight some and kind of open up to that a little bit. So if you're interested in that, you might join in and look. All right. What am I doing here? All right. So have you anything you want to ask about the chip? Any questions you have tonight about the chip and all of that? I would love to answer that for you tonight. And so get ready for some of that tonight. All right. I think you can hear me good. Hopefully you can hear me fine. Uh, man. All right. So what's up with all this stuff and what's happening with all of it and where's it all going and what do we need to know so that we don't uh, jump to conclusions about things that are not godly and things that are not God, things that are half baked information that, why does it do that? I don't know. Maybe what you see when you get on camera, you don't see it. Okay, there we go. I think I got it now. All right. So, yeah, very, 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 very cool. Um, so, any questions you have, anything you want to talk about tonight, anything you have, we have people asking questions about somebody, Jonathan Kahn, saying June the 16th is a spiritual shift happening. Maybe you have thoughts on that tonight. Also, some guy on the YouTube interview said the rapture is September 2026. Of course, I don't believe that because I'm in the mid and post trib, in the middle of the post trib and mid trib. I know you're post trib. A lot of people miss it with dreams. Okay. Anyway, interesting. So, yeah, we're really going to talk about some things now. I think what God's going to use us to do is to help guide you through understanding uh, technology. Technology is going to go off the roof. It's just going to go way out there. Technology is just going to go way, 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 way out there. So every time we see the word chip, we're going to be thinking that's the chip of the Antichrist. And understandable. I think that it's a real talked about thing. It's one of the most popular things that people have talked about and have questioned about and have feared actually, and you have a right to fear it because the Bible does talk about who takes the mark of the beast will not be born again or will not make it to heaven, right? Right? Of course, I don't think you can take the mark of the beast and be born again. I don't think God would let you take it. So anyway, but that's up for grabs. I guess people can guess about that if they want to and talk about all that kind of thing. I personally think that one of the things that people have questioned me on about Elon Musk, and because I've been saying he's going to be used to help bring us through the Great Tribulation, as far as having um, the satellites, which he already has. If you've been listening to the show, you know he already has them, and he has them all over the globe. Somebody sent me a text today about how that. Let's see, where's it at? Glenn sent me something here talking about how that Iran is the regime in Iran, I should say, has been cutting people off, which is a perfect picture of what it's going to be like during the Great Tribulation. So we're going to see it happen in a massive way, where you're either going to be on it, you're either for us or against us. There's not going to be much in between as far as the dictatorial, the dictatorship side of the different systems that we're going to have. We're going to have two different systems. People are still trying to process the two different systems. I don't have any water. So I got to grab water. Uh, I'm here at least. Thank you, Jesus, for that. But the two different systems are going to be talked about in a lot of different ways. And so what we're trying to do is talk about them up front. Bye, Siri. No, I don't need you, Siri. Thank you. Um, okay, so people are sending me stuff. All right. I got people sending me all kinds of things here. Okay, nobody sent me anything new. Okay, all right, so no problem. All right, so we're gonna have two systems, right? And so because people have not been really listening close to what we've been saying, and some people have never even heard us talk about it. The reason we're going to have two systems is because there already is two systems. There already is two. There's the system of Russia and China, and of course many other countries join them, right? Iran and South Korea, and those Turkey and those places are going to join them because they're not going to be able to. We're not going to be able to go in there and preach the gospel of Christ. What's the gospel of Christ? That Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father. That's what the gospel of Christ is. If anybody preaches any other gospel than that gospel, they're cursed. And so Russia and China is going to allow people to talk about Jesus, but you can't go in there and preach the gospel, right? The gospel is there's no other way path to the Father other than Jesus Christ. That will be rejected. So the big deception is going to be because people are going to be really ignorant on all this stuff. Not ignorant meaning not knowing, not being taught that. They're going to talk about Jesus and praise Jesus and have Jesus rallies and Jesus songs, along with all the other religions that'll be on there too. So you're going to have two systems. You're going to have religions on both sides and different religions. But on the system that we're talking about with Musk, and I'm going to talk about Musk tonight in the chip, okay? Because there's a lot of questions about Musk and the chip. Dictatorship is something I heard before the administration was put in place. What do you mean you heard it? I see Morgan. Okay, Morgan Johnson. Uh, so what do you mean you heard dictatorship before the this administration was put into place? What do you mean you heard that? That doesn't really say a lot, at least to me. You probably know what you're talking about, but let me know. Thank you for that. And so what? So we're gonna have two different systems, and the one system, like I said, is going to be China and Russia. They're definitely no Jesus Jesus is not the only way to the Father, and they will not allow it on there. The system that we're going to have, Texas is going to have. Texas is going to be the hub of that system, and we're going to have a thing on there through kind of like what we have now, that you can get on there and say Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father, and then you have a program maybe coming right after our program that says Jesus Christ is not the only way to the Father, Buddha is, or whoever. The Muslims will say they're. So it's going to be a freedom thing where people are going to be able to, say whatever they want. It's freedom. A prophecy, but what does a prophecy mean, Morgan? I can't understand. You're saying dictatorship is something I heard before the administration was put in place. What administration? You talking about the Trump administration? And are you saying Trump is a dictatorship, or that there's going to be a dictatorship during? You're not making yourself real plain, at least not to me. I'm sure you know what you're talking about, like you said, but I don't know what you're talking about. So if you can make that clear, who you're saying is the dictatorship, and what dictatorship? Okay, so if you could share that with me, then we can kind of go forward with that, and we'll talk about that. But so let me get some water real quick, y'all. I forgot to get water. I'm running a little bit late tonight. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I got some water. Okay, thank you for that. So I guess what I'm asking you, are you saying that the Trump administration is the dictatorship, or what? Is the Trump administration? Just go ahead and say the Trump administration is the dictatorship. That way I can know exactly what you're saying. If you're saying that, I don't know what you're saying. All right, so we'll get that going on here in a minute. Um, we are going to have two systems. We're going to have a system that's going to be dictatorship, which will be Russia and China, and I don't think Trump's going to have anything to do with that one. But and we're going to have a Texas. Texas is going to have its own system, and that's already actually been set up. And so because it's been set up and already been tested, actually, it's pretty well proven fact that that is already working and happening. Okay. All right. So moving right along here. Yeah, it's been a long weekend, y'all. It's been great. All right. So she's not saying yet. Maybe she doesn't know, or maybe she doesn't know about it. But when you say that, you have to me, you have to be plain to me. Okay, that's what was prophesied. Yes, that the Trump administration was going to be able dictatorship. Whether that's true or not, I'm sure what it is. Just reminded me of it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. It's. I just wasn't sure what you were saying. You didn't really say that specifically, so now you're saying it. Now I got you. Thank you. Thank you for being clear on that. Um, no, I don't think Trump is going to be the dictatorship. I think that the dictatorship is going to be Russia and China, and um, and so there's a lot of people who think that Trump is going to be a dictator, but he's not going to be a dictator. Uh, and so that's not even going to happen. But he's going to be kind of tough and kind of rough sometimes. So you might get used to that. Dictatorship is a little bit different than maybe you should study dictatorship and see exactly what a dictatorship is, and then come on and tell us about it. So it's a good question, though. It's a really good question. Is Trump the dictator? No, he's not the dictator. He acts like he. If you really knew what a dictator was and how they really do it, he can probably appear as one sometimes. But as far as the word of the Lord that I have, uh, okay. So, but there is going to be a dictatorship that's going to rule, and so that is going to happen. All right. So, so uh, Elon Musk, who has his own town in Texas. He now has his own town, and I forget what they call it, but I've got it here somewhere, but that doesn't really matter. But he's setting up a system that is going to be safe. He's going to protect it with all kinds of protections and all kinds of things, and so he's getting it ready for what he's already experienced before, and that is being attacked by Putin when he was in Ukraine trying to help Ukraine, and did help Ukraine actually because Putin would have taken over Russia. I mean, Russia and Putin would have taken over Ukraine really quick because he went in right away and as we've talked about many times, he knocked out their system where they couldn't communicate. And so this is going to be a common thing we're going to see, and it happens. It happens with Iran is doing it. Iran has cut off most of its people from the internet, so people can't get the internet. Right? Are you aware of that? That the Iranian people, not the regime, but the Iranian people cannot get internet. In other words, they can't get out there and find out what's going on. So what's happening again, and I haven't confirmed this yet, but it looks right. A couple of people have said this that Elon Musk has gone into who's helping set up in Iran right now, and he's helping set up in Iran his system where people can communicate. That's what he's doing. That's what they're saying he's doing, and so we'll get more confirmation on that later. Just like he did in Ukraine, he's doing the same thing um, in he's doing the same thing exactly. All right, let me get adjusting some things. Here we go. Okay, so this is going to be a thing where this is going to be a end time thing where we're going to see people one day they're going to be shut off from a system because like Iran, I don't know when it shut off its people from internet. I think it's probably been quite a while now. But he goes in. Elon Musk has gone in, or he already has satellites everywhere. All you got to do is just be able to connect into it. So he's making it possible for people in Iran to connect to the internet where they can communicate with each other and find out what's going on around the globe. That's kind of what he's doing right now. That was just as of the last couple of days, I think. That just happened. So it's kind of a new thing. All right. So just kind of letting you guys know what's going on. So why are we talking about Musk tonight and Iran? And the reason we're talking about that is because uh, people have really, you know, questioned me because I'm saying that Elon Musk. I'm not saying that Elon Musk is a man of God or he's a Christian. I don't know what he is exactly. Uh, he looks like he has a lot of appearances as not being a Christian. Maybe he's done that on purpose. I don't know. He may be more closer to being a believer in God than I don't know. I don't have a word on it. But so because of that, people saying, Chandler, how can you say that someone who's not a Christian is going to uh, help us get through the Great Tribulation? And because he's involved in making chips. He's made a chip. They show a video. I've had him sent to me where some guy puts a chip in the side of his head, and he controls the computer through the chip in his head, right? And so they're saying, well, that right there is the mark of the beast. In case we got some very ignorant preachers saying that. I heard, the Biggs guy. The Biggs guy is a really nice guy. He's the guy that talked about Trump being shot in his right ear, and it did. It happened. Really amazing, right? But at the same time, he's very much a pre-tribulation rapture person, and pre-tribulation rapture people are not open to a second system. There's only going to be one system, and that one system is going to cut your head off or starve you out, and you will die of starvation unless you take the mark of the beast. That's the way they believe because they're not even going to be here for it, right? So they don't care, right? But that's not what's going to happen. That is not what's going to happen at all. And so because of that, um, because of that belief system that they have, what they have done is they have uh, come up with a thing where anybody who's going to be here during the Great Tribulation is of the devil, basically, or you're just going to be, really messed up and you're going to starve to death or get your head cut off because there's not going to be another system. There's not going to be anybody else here to take care of you. That's the way they paint it. And most of you who have heard that all of your life understand that's exactly what they say. 99% of them say if you're going to be here during the Great Tribulation, which is the last 7 years, you're going to either get your head cut off because you don't take the mark, or you're going to starve to death because you're not going to be able to buy food. That's what they say, right? Big lie. I mean, I've never had believed that, but I used to think, well, they could be right, but probably not, but whatever. Now I know it's just a bunch of, it's a bunch of religious nonsense because number one, God has shown me that. And it's kind of funny. And number two is because now we have a system. We have a very obvious system. And Elon Musk has proven himself because Biggs has said, I know Elon Musk has got some kind of a evil deal behind the scenes with these other nations. Okay, I'm going like like he's some kind of an evil guy because right, he doesn't believe in the he's going to be here during the great tribulation helping people, and so he's now he's an antichrist because of that. And Biggs also said, this is a quote from his own site, and Glenn sends me these things. And Biggs is saying some of the most ignorant stuff I've ever heard in my life. A nice guy, like I said, he's a really a nice guy, and all that. But some of his stuff is just he says Elon Musk is a hybrid. In other words, somebody basically evil because he comes up with inventions like electric cars. He said that's what he said exactly, electric cars and the chip. Okay, so let's talk about the chip part. I think somebody who comes up with an idea about the electric car is not exactly an antichrist, but that's what Biggs is saying basically. I mean, I heard him say it out of his own mouth, and so this is the chip. What's the chip? Well, this one video that got sent to me, this African American guy, he said that they put a chip in his head on the side of his head, and that he could control his computer, and basically overall, I don't know if it's true or not. But I'm going to use it as an example, no matter what, right? So the chip that they're talking about, they're saying, see, he makes a chip, therefore he is an Antichrist guy, or he's part of the Antichrist system. I really don't know how they come up with that, other than just pure ignorance, or they're not thinking, because technology, there's going to be people with all kinds of chips. There's going to be people that are going to have chips that you're going to put in your shoulder. You're going to put, in your head and your brain to get your brain working. It's going to bring some great medical breakthroughs. And then there's going to be the people that take those chips that other people invent. That's not their invention, like the Antichrist. He's going to take that chip, which is used to help people, and because it's becoming more well known and people are kind of more accepting of the chip because it helped their cousin or their uncle walk again, or because it helped, because it showed some real strong, powerful, use in helping people. So, anything that's going to be a chip that it's going to, the reason they put it in the brain is because it connects to the brain, because the brain, like we talk about on the show a lot, the brain is the part of you that actually runs everything. So why do they stick the chip in the brain? So I want to explain this to you. And why is the Antichrist going to have a chip in the brain? Right? So does that mean every chip is evil? Because they put it in their head. The reason they put it in their head, and the reason the Antichrist, that the chip is talking about being put in the head and in the forehead or in the hand, is in the head, is because it's going to control the brain, and it will control the brain, and it will be evil. It will definitely be not of God, right? It's not going to be a God thing. But at the same time, everybody who comes up with a chip, who invents chips, is not the Antichrist. Some people are inventing things because they've done a lot of research on brains and making these little things that can work the brain and get the brain working again. They're going to call that a chip from the Antichrist. And it is not going to be a chip from the Antichrist. Is the Antichrist going to use that kind of a chip to do that? Control people? Yes, he will take those inventions, or those people will sell their inventions to him, to the Antichrist, or to that system, and they will make it, and they will say, can you make me one that does this and this and this? And they go, yeah. And they may tell them that it's going to be to rule the world. They may not tell them it's going to rule the world. They may just tell them, we're going to help people with this. Can you make a chip that does all the things that the Antichrist is going to have in his chip? Right? And he will have people, the Antichrist is not going to be able to make it. He's going to have other people make it for him. Right? He's going to have other people make the chip. But the people that make the chip are not evil. And people that make chips that work the brain, that cause you got an arm that doesn't work and it makes your arm start working. It's not because that's an evil thing. It's because they're finding out that you have to put that chip in the brain to connect it up, so that when it gets the brain to working, so that you can start using your arm again. Does that make it evil? Of course not. Does that open up society to chips in the brain? Yes. Is that going to cause is the Antichrist going to go, hey man, we can use that to rule people. We can use that to rule the world. We can use that to, whatever. So, but just because Elon Musk has a chip that a guy says, and I don't even know if it's true or not, it looks like it's true. I think it probably is, that he has that chip in the brain and connected to his. Why is he having it in the brain? If you just think in common sense, and I know a little bit about the brain because I studied the brain quite a bit, and I have brain inventions that have nothing to do with chips, of course, or anything like that. I'm not that smart, but people are going to come up with all kinds of devices and things that are going to have. They're going to call them chips, and they're going to be chips. And the reason they're going to put them in the brain, like I said 5 times already, is because that's where you have to hook it up. That'll run wires from way down here or something. You can run some wires, or you can just put the thing right there. So does that mean that everybody who has a chip, oh, so and so got a chip, man, he's a multi-billionaire, he got a chip, we know what he is? And you're going to have a bunch of religious people who are ignorant, very nice, wonderful people who are going to be totally ignorant, that are going to say everybody who has a chip or who's making chips, we know what that's going to be for. Well, is it going to be work for the Antichrist? Of course it is. Is that going to be totally evil? Absolutely. Do I want to have it in my brain? No. And neither do you. But just because somebody is making chips, listen, you got all kinds of evil. Hitler got scientists together, and sometimes they would know what they were doing, sometimes they wouldn't know what they're doing. And he got the scientists together, and they came up with all these things, not really knowing what they were doing. Sometimes he would keep the scientists all separated from each other, making different things, and then he would put them together with another scientist, and he would come up with all kinds of things trying to fix working on the genetic code. Oh, isn't that interesting? It's been around for a long time. So I guess what I'm saying tonight is do not judge uh, Elon Musk and say that because he has chips that automatically makes him, like Big said, and I'll send you the video if you want it. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I'm saying exactly. He leans back and he goes, anybody who is who thinks like that, who makes electric vehicles and who makes, chips, is a hybrid. He called him a hybrid. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I'm like going, okay, I guess it's possible. It's definitely possible. But does that make everybody who creates a chip, who makes something that fits in the brain that causes maybe it's you. Maybe you'll get that thing in your brain. It'll make your arm work. Does that mean that the Antichrist is now ruling you? Absolutely not. Chips are being introduced as the answer because they're fitting to the brain, and the electrical part of the brain, they've worked on it. They've done a lot of experiment on it, and the electrical part of the brain, they hook it all up to the electrical part of the brain, and they can cause your brain to start working and your hand starts working again, or you can start talking again. Does that mean it's Antichrist? No. Does that mean the Antichrist is going to use it? Absolutely, he's going to use it. But don't, friend, please listen to me and drink water. Take a deep breath, Chandler. You're going to be fine. But does that mean that everybody who makes one is of the Antichrist? Were all those scientists that were helping Hitler put together stuff that he didn't tell them what he was doing? He made it sound like he was saving the world. So the scientists were proud to work trying to save the world. Now, did they know that he was going to turn it for evil? I don't think they did. Maybe a few of them did. I think most of them were good, God-fearing people who were scientists who believed in technology can help people. Same thing today, even more so. Because technology is going to go off the roof, y'all. It's going to go off the roof. So everybody that comes up with something that helps somebody, it's going to all of a sudden be evil? I don't think so. In fact, I know it's not. So do we accept it and go, well, we're going to know. We will know. I will know. And I will tell you as a prophet, I'm going to tell you when to do things and when not to do things. Because it is going to work toward that. There's no doubt about it. It's definitely going to do it. So you need to understand that that's what's going on. All right. But it does not make somebody an Antichrist because they're doing it. Now, could they be an Antichrist? Absolutely. Could they be working with the Antichrist system? They sure could. But we need to be careful that we don't make judgments against everyone who's a creative person who's creative. I'm an inventor myself. And inventors are known as, some of us as, madmen. Because we believe God can give us anything about anything. Right? And it's so much fun to do. And when you find something that really works, it's exciting. It's somebody took the atomic bomb information in the formula. And they're going to use it for evil. But the atomic bomb was not made by a bunch of people trying to kill people. And it was not made to destroy innocent lives, right? So you have to look back at history and understand that this is what's going on, and the same thing's going to happen with Elon Musk and all of that. All right, so let's change courses a little bit. Let's change course a little bit. So I want to change course into what happened on June the 13th. Let's look at that, June the 13th. And look at this just for a moment. Well, let me go here. All right, on June the 13th, let's talk about what's going on with prophetic words from PGN right now for the moment. Let's talk about that just for a moment. And I wrote a little thing out here. If you want me to send this to you, I will, but I got it on my phone. I want to talk about the key timelines of events of our prophecies here on Prophetic Grace Network. On Monday, April the 15th, 2024. April the 15th, 2024. On our show, right here on this show, I shared a word that Israel would bomb Iran's nuclear sites. I shared that word. That's been 13 months ago. 13 months ago. On the show, right here. Some of you listened to it. Some of you have commented about it. When I prophesied and talked about a word that I had gotten back in 2008, 2009. I got that word many years ago that I saw Iran going in and blowing up and bombing uh, Iran's nuclear site, right? And I shared it with you on April the 15th, 2024. That is 13 months before it happened. 13 months. This is all documented in history now. And so the same night that I gave the word that Iran's nuclear sites would be attacked, would be bombed by Israel's, I also said that Iran would be taken down through Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is a nation right next to Iran. It's very friendly with Israel. We prophesied this on the same day, April the 16th, 2024. And 34 days later, on Sunday, May the 19th, 34 days later, an Iranian helicopter crashed in Azerbaijan, killing the president of Iran and several of his staff members. So even though we didn't say a helicopter was going to do it, God showed me the regime of Iran being taken over. This is in 2008 and 2009. Now that's all they're talking about the last few days. Have you noticed that? They're really talking about how now they're going to go in and take over the regime. So the battle right now is how they're going to do it, and I have some thoughts about that I haven't shared with anybody yet that I will talk about soon. So get ready for that. So we gave the word on 13 months ago, and 34 days before the Azerbaijan accident happened. They say it's an accident. It wasn't really an accident, but for the killing of the president of Iran and several of his staff members. In other words, the Iranian regime was killed in a helicopter crash in Azerbaijan. Now, when I gave that word, I specifically spoke Azerbaijan. The Lord had shown me this, like I said, 2008, 2009. And I was just all of a sudden out of the blue wanting to talk about it on the show. So we did. And most of you who listen to it, you listen to the show pretty regular, you know we talk about that exactly. And so what happened 34 days later? In Azerbaijan, a country that nobody talks about, right next to Iran, they were having some kind of a thing dedicating a dam that had been built. And the president of Iran was there. And then when he flew out with his helicopter, you know, hey, all of a sudden some things went wrong. What was that? Well, yeah, exactly. And this is the way people are approaching it from Israel. They know what happened. Or they, you know. All right. So the tragic accident occurred exactly 34 days after my public statement. And we said in Azerbaijan, Iranian regime would go down. Now, I didn't know it was going to be a helicopter. I didn't know it was going to be a bunch of people dying. I did not know that. All I did is I just gave the word that Iranian regime would go down through Azerbaijan. So they were in Azerbaijan, and the Iranian regime, the president of Iran, went down in a helicopter crash and died, and him and his staff. All right. So I also shared on the same day that I shared about Azerbaijan, about a minute before that word, I shared another dream, or another revelation that I got from God, that Israel was going to bomb successfully Iran's nuclear sites. I gave that word on the same night, on April the 15th, 2024. That is now 13 months later, not 12, not 14, 13 months later, y'all, after I shared that I saw Israel bombing Iran's nuclear sites, and it was like an earthquake bomb. I couldn't understand. When I saw it, I didn't understand it because I saw like an explosion, and yet I saw like an earthquake at the same time. And I said, when I gave this word, I shared with y'all, I said, I'm not sure whether it was an earthquake and a bomb at the same time, or the bomb created the earthquake, or what. I didn't know exactly, but somehow it looked like a bomb with an earthquake bomb, but I didn't know. And I shared this even a couple of months ago, because Israel was doing some things that made it look like they had a bomb that uh, was like an earthquake bomb. And we talked about that. You remember that? We did. All right. So here we're talking about a very special date also. And the very special date on that was Friday the 13th, June, Friday the 13th. Now, Friday the 13th is a date that I gave for October the 13th, 2023. That was going to be the beginning of the end of our system as we know it. I didn't know how long it was going to take. All I know is that's what God showed me, and it's going to start on October the 13th, which is a Friday. Friday the 13th, 2023. And I've repeated this many times, as you all know. And so now what's happened is that 13 months later, another Friday the 13th concerning the destruction of a system, June the 13th, just a few days ago, what was it, Friday? Yeah, on Friday, June the 13th, on a Friday the 13th, Iran was, the word of the Lord came to pass that Israel has never taken out or tried to take out, bomb the Iranian nuclear sites. They've never done it before. It has never been done. They've never tried it. This is the first time. When did it happen? On a Friday the 13th. There's the number 13, and there's the Friday the 13th, which is how all the 13s got started that we've been talking about for the last couple of years. Started from a date that I got 2 years in advance that was going to be for October the 13th, 2023. 6 days before that, the war started from Gaza. 3 days before that, we invested 90% of our account, cash, all of it, the cash, everything we had in there. 90% we invested in gold and silver because it was a prophetic act for the future. Now, what's everybody talking about? Gold and silver currency, gold and silver currency, gold and silver currency. Why? Well, we gave the prophetic act because that's what God said. I don't know what I'm doing. I just do what the Lord tells me to do, right? And it was a prophetic act, meaning that it had something to do with the future. So now what's everybody talking about? They're talking about that very thing. So you can see that the Lord is trying to help us understand stuff here. And if you can really get a hold of it, it'll really help you. Help you from freaking out. Help you from taking everybody who makes a chip and calling them an antichrist or part of the antichrist system, which it doesn't mean any of that. Can it be part of it? Of course it can. But don't be judging somebody who's an inventor because he or she makes a chip that helps somebody. Now the chip they're going to make, it's going to be way beyond what Elon has so far. It's going to be way beyond that. They're working on it big time. There's lots of people working on chips, y'all. It's not just Elon and the Antichrist. It's a bunch of people. Scientists have found out that there's a way to help people and do some miraculous things by helping people become healthy again and getting their brain back, including Alzheimer's. Now all that stuff's going to be put together in a package, and the Antichrist is going to use it to sell to people, if you will, to give their life to his system. But it doesn't mean the people that made him are evil. I want to keep reminding you of that because you've got to get that in order for you to move forward in what's about to happen in the next couple of years. Okay? So keep you from spending a lot of time throwing your religious mud at people that you don't have a clue what you're talking about. Just because it looks like it doesn't mean that's it. All right? So Friday, June the 13th, 2025 was 13 months after the helicopter crash. It wasn't after we gave the word. It was 13 months after the helicopter crash. I think I said after I gave the word. It was actually after we gave the word in April, and then in May, 34 days later, the crash happened. And then 13 months after that is when the helicopter crashed. And then 13 months after that is when Israel attacked Iran's nuclear site on a Friday the 13th, which was a few days ago, right? All those Friday the 13th is when God told me 2 years in advance in 2021. He said in 2023, Friday the 13th is going to be the day I'm picking for you to tell people when the system's going to begin to change. All right, I'm going like, okay. And then when it happened, then I started telling people watch the number 13 because number 13 is going to be big. Now 13s are showing up everywhere. Donald Trump got shot on July the 13th. Remember that? 13s have been everywhere. I mean, that's just one of many, many, many of them. And so uh, June the 13th, an historical thing happened where Iran was bombed. Their nuclear sites were bombed. Iran didn't have a clue they were going to do it. Oh, their threats were everywhere. Nobody knew it. Somebody came on the show Thursday and said that it had already been said that he was going to do that. Nobody said that. Whoever sent that was not true. I don't know what they were doing, but that was totally not found anywhere. Nobody said that they knew the day that Trump was going to have or agree with Israel to bomb Iran's nuclear sites. There was no information on that anywhere, and that was sent to me during the show, and I said it because I was trying to be courteous and I'm not going to be courteous anymore with information that's not sound. Because then I found out that none of it was true. None of it was true. And I asked the person where they got it, and they just didn't know because it wasn't anywhere. All right, so much for me giving everybody information that they share without it being checked out. Because sometimes the devil gets in there and tries to do things right in the middle of a powerful show. Because last Thursday, our whole show was about 13s. And then when that person threw that in there and said that, it made everything look like, we had planned it, which is a lie from hell. Nobody knew that on Friday the 13th, which we were still into Thursday, but at midnight, which was the 13th in parts of the United States, and so in New York, and so it was June of Friday the 13th at midnight. So people started sending me things. Hey, Friday the 13th, Israel, because it was Friday in Israel, they just struck Iran's nuclear sites. Well, we gave that word 13 months before that. We didn't give that word before that. That's when the helicopter crashed, and then 13 months after the helicopter crashed and the Iranian regime went down, what happened on June the 13th? These dates right. A few days ago, the Iranian regime, through attacking all their sites, attacking all their regime, they attacked more of their regime. They killed several of the main leaders of the nuclear scientists and the people who were heading up all this stuff. They killed 20 of them? I can't remember how many they killed of them. Yeah. And so what was it? It was 13 months after the helicopter fell down and the regime went down in that helicopter in Azerbaijan, which was a sign of about the overtake of the regime, the overtaking of the regime, which we prophesied. God showed me that back in 2008, 2009, that it was going to happen partially through Azerbaijan. And so that day it happened in Azerbaijan was just partial information. It was partial. The president of Iran went down in Azerbaijan, and we shared that word 34 days ahead before that. And then 13 months later, after the helicopter went down, the regime went down, what happened? Israel on Friday the 13th, last Friday, attacked their regime again and took out and really messed up their nuclear sites, which is another level of them taking out the regime, or should I say positioning Iran's regime to be taken out, to be removed. And they've got it all planned out on how they're going to do it. Trust me. I say they got it all planned out. It's all planned out how they're going to do it. It has to be done carefully, because if they don't do it carefully, somebody on the wrong side could just take over and then have the same bad people in again. So they have to be careful how they're doing this. Do you understand? They can't just go in there and, I don't know how they're going to do it exactly, although I have some clues, but they're not going to just kill the only remaining leader of Iran and Khamenei. I mean, they're not just going to. They're saving him. Can I just tell you something? They're saving that old boy. They say he's got stomach cancer and a bunch of other things going on with him. They're saving him alive, and they're using him. Let me tell you something. They're using him and keeping him alive on purpose. They could have taken him out, yeah, a long time ago. They have they have they have had a strategy, which God showed me in 2008, that they were going to take over the regime, or Israel was going to help the regime be taken over just help the people of Iran to have a good regime. They were Israel's not trying to take over Iran. Israel's trying to help have good neighbors. So that's what they're working on. And so they're working on, they have kept him alive. People say, well, they could have never got him. Look at all the people that they were showing that they could have killed Khomeini a long time ago, because they killed people all around him, right in his own palace, right next door to him, so to speak, under his own nose. And they could have gotten him at the same time if they wanted to, but they didn't want to do that. Not yet. That's why they're saying that Iran was saying, let's kill the main leader, and Trump was going like, no, let's wait on that. And there's a reason why they're waiting on that. They have to have a strategy. You don't take over a nation. I'm not saying Israel's trying to take over the nation. I'm saying Israel's trying to help the Iranian people get good leadership, because they've been really mean and really nasty. They've been an antichrist for sure. And so because of that, Israel is going to help them, along with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, I've even said this before, I wouldn't be surprised if Azerbaijan and Iran become, coexist as leaders, because Azerbaijan is a good example of being a Muslim but not being a radical, and because they work with Israel, they're friends with Israel. Azerbaijan's been friends with Israel for a long. I did research on this back in 2008, 2009, maybe 2007. I wasn't documenting much back then, so I didn't document it, but I shared it with other people. So you got to listen real close to this stuff, man. I'm not just over here flapping my jaws, right? I think you understand that by now, hopefully. I'm not just trying to raise money, because we don't. I'm not just trying to get an offering. I'm trying to get you to give something, and we're sharing some hyper information to get you to do it. We're not into any of that stuff. Okay, so if you listen for the first time and you think it's what we're doing, just drop that. You know, that's what other people do. I know, but we're just under that. We trust God. Okay, so I don't know if anybody have any questions about any of this. Give me a second here. Now I was hot. Now I'm getting cold. So I'm hot and cold. I guess that's good. It's better than lukewarm, right? Hang on a second. I will be right back. Give me a second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Thank you for being with us tonight. And here we go. Okay, so we're talking tonight about. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Azerbaijan was very involved in raising up leadership to take Iran, because right now, if you remember back, the Lord showed me, and I shared this with everybody, you know, uh, in 2024, April of 2024, that the strategy was to take down Azerbaijan. I mean, to take down Iran, and that to replace the regime, because God is not really upset with the regime. He's upset with he's not upset with the people. He's upset with the regime blah, 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 of Iran. Okay, so he's upset with it. Right? God is. God doesn't like it, and he's very upset with them. And so what's happening is. Uh, okay. Okay. Hang on a second. Prophecy Social says, this is Glenn. He says the media outlined that the people of Iran have to remove the leader. He is leftover of Islamic terror. That's why Elon turned on Starlink over Iran when the government shut it down. Okay, thank you for that. Glenn is the one that shared with me about Elon going in. I did not know Elon had gone in there. That was from Glenn. I think I shared that earlier also. But so yeah, thank you, Glenn, for that. I'm sorry I didn't see that. I had to change my thing there. Let me get it open where I can see all that information. Okay, so really good share. The media outlined that the people of Iran have to remove the leader. He is a leftover of Islamic terror, and that's why Elon turned on Starlink over Iran when the government shut it down. Good job. I'm glad you found that. I did not have a clue that was going on. And so yes, Elon is doing that, right? That's one thing that Elon is doing. So it's really, really important to know we're trying to help you understand what's really going on. Not what these pre-tribulation. The reason I say pre-tribulation people, rapture people, are really messed up in this area is because they don't believe that. They think anybody who has a chip, who makes electric cars, as Big says, and I got that right off his site. I mean, he's him saying it. So he's just ignorant. A very nice guy, but very ignorant. He has a religious spirit about him, in my opinion. And although he's got some really great words, but he's got a religious spirit about him, and yeah, so it's causing him. It's going to cause Big's problem. He's going to have to get rid of that, and when he does, he'll be awesome. He's already good. He's already good. He's already great. But if he get rid of that religious spirit, it will set him free to really be powerful. He'll be really amazing. So Biggs, I love you, man, but uh, making some big mistakes on some of this stuff. So so just like he and social prophecy social called the name, just like Elon added Ukraine from Russia. Exactly. We said that earlier. We've talked about this many times before about how that we even use it as an example of how it's going to be at the end times. I just didn't know it was going to be Elon. I thought we would have somebody else would make some satellites and we'd use drones. I even had a show where I talked about. I don't know. We might have drones that are going to take these, satellite dishes way up high, and we're going to be able to communicate. I really didn't understand how it was going to work. All I know is that God spoke to me about it. And so we're the only ones talking about it. So most people don't even listen to it. They just think I'm full of it. But they're going to find out that maybe I'm not so full of it as some of these other people are full of it. Yeah, I'm afraid that's what they're going to find out. It's going to be really sad when it happens. But so really good people. These religious people are very good people. I know a lot of them, and they're friends of mine, and they're good people. They just have a religious thing going on with the pre-tribulation rapture, and it keeps them from being able to see the two systems. So if you're just a pre-tribulation rapture person, he's going to call Musk an antichrist. He's going to call anybody who makes electric cars and chips, like every chip is going to be the antichrist. Well, it's not. It's not. Chips are going to be used, of course. Uh, I think the Antichrist will use them, no doubt about it. But every chip that scientists make is not evil. We gotta get that in our thinking. And Elon Musk is one of those guys, and it doesn't make him evil. So that's how Biggs qualified it. It's like he makes chips, he makes chips. I'm going like, dude, I love you, man, but you like when you talk like that, you look like something comes into your eyeballs or something, like the pre-tribulation rapture spirit or something. I don't know. He's a good guy, really. But so if you're gonna talk with me, I'm gonna talk real straight with you about it, right? I'm not gonna piddle around, play around. I'm gonna talk real straight with you about all of it. So don't expect me to, piddle paddle when it comes to people who are talking that kind of trash. As much stuff as they have is good. They have a little bit of trash. Just give them a break, but be careful how you listen to them. All right. So, all right. And if they're merchandisers, run for the hills because they're all going to be taken out. Every one of them are going to be taken out. I think I don't know if I'm the only one that's not merchandising, but I think it's possible. It's very possible. So, merchandise the gospel. So there you go. So when Israel attacked, like the word we gave on April the 15th, 2024, that Iran was going to attack, Israel was going to attack Iran's nuclear sites. That has never been done before, y'all. That has never been done before. When I said that, it's like, oh, there he goes again, delusion, Mr. Delusional. He's delusional in everybody. No, I'm shining forth the candlestick, the candelabra, the chandelier. That's what we're shining forth the light. And those other people are never going to have this particular light because they don't believe that this light is the light of God. And they're going to find out, real soon that it's going to be all that stuff is a bunch of dung, only good for one thing: fertilizer, something to grow from. Our mistakes, our failures, turns to fertilizer. It's all going to turn to fertilizer. Some people are going to use it it's going to turn to dung. Some people use it for fertilizer. Some will just say, man, that stinks. We're going to go, yeah, it sure does, but it sure makes great fertilizer. That's what I think about it, and y'all know that. So, and they're all really nice people, as you know, and I really mean that. I'm not just trying to be nice. I really mean they're nice people. All right. So here we go. So, where are we at? What do you want to talk about? Somebody give me something to talk about. Throw something out here at me. Give me something to work on. If you're sending me text, let me check and see if I get some text. Nobody's sending me any text. Jonathan Kahn is saying June the 16th is a spiritual shift happening. It could be. There's a lot of spiritual shifts. What does he mean by that? Like a shift of the era, a new era, whatever you call it. What is he talking about? A new shift. What does that mean? That doesn't mean much of anything. That's just a bunch of stuff. I've said that kind of stuff myself. It's just a bunch of nothing unless you specify what you're talking about. What happened was the Friday the 13th thing was a big shift because when Israel attacked Iran on the Friday the 13th, matching our October Friday the 13th for 2023, when we said the system was all going to begin to be changed, and now we know it's a man-made crash that's happening. They're crashing it. They have to crash it. They're trying to control crash it to keep it from going crazy. That's what they're trying to do. And it's going to turn into an antichrist system. That's what it's all going to do. Well-meaning people are going to do it, and people who know what they're doing are going to be doing their thing. Then we're going to end up with two systems. When all the dust settles, we're going to have two systems. One is going to be with Elon Musk. As far as this, he's not going to be running the thing, but he's going to have the satellite access, which we can buy and sell. We can do trading. We can buy groceries. We can have a debit card with gold and silver. That's all going to be Elon Musk, right? So making chips does not make him the Antichrist, because people lump chips into everything as Antichrist, and it is not. It's an idea somebody came up with. It's an invention someone came up with that in the technology realm. And so are they going to use it for evil? Absolutely. So it doesn't mean that somebody puts something in their head that hooks up to their brain and they're calling it a chip, is automatically Antichrist. Now, the Antichrist is going to take all those things, as I said earlier, and he's going to use it and make a thing out of it. He's going to take everything the scientists did, just like Hitler, put it all together to produce a genetic thing like Hitler was trying to do, except it's going to be through a chip. But the people who make them are just trying to help people. But it's going to open up the door for people to accept chips. That's the problem with it. All right? So that's the problem. And that's what we have to look at. And I'm very well familiar with that thought process and how that stuff works. Okay, somebody send me a question. Somebody give me something to talk about here. There's so much to talk about. I have so much I want to talk about. Okay, so send me something by text. Don't send me something by unless it comes on my system here. Please don't just send it by Facebook or something. Send it to me by text or whatever. All right. Okay. Any questions? Anybody have something they want to add or take away or say or do whatever? I'm trying to look at some things here on. Okay. All right. So, as you guys know, here on PGN, we gave words that all this is going to happen. We gave a word uh, about the Iranian regime being taken down through Azerbaijan. And then when that helicopter thing happened, 13 months later, 13 months, almost to the day, on Friday the 13th, that date is going to go down in history because it's the date that God, the Friday the 13th, October, was the date it all started, to start the tumbling of everything with the new currency, the whole thing, which is going to change everything. We have the satellite battle that's going to go on in the heavens with China. Russia is one system, and all the other people that they're with. And then we're going to have the Texas hub system, and it's all going to provide, uh, ways for people not to take the mark, come into our fold. And even though Elon is not going to say only preachers that preach Jesus Christ is the only Father can be preached, he's going to have everybody preach it. But at least on here, we'll be able to say Jesus Christ or preach the gospel. The gospel is one main thing. Christ is the only way to the Father. That's the gospel. If you preach any other gospel than that gospel, you're going to be accursed. And there's a lot of people who are preaching it. A lot of people preach it. And that is going to cost them a lot. A lot. All right. They're going to be like, anyway. So, okay. So, praise God. So here we are. And I'm trying to figure out where I want to go next. Anybody have any questions on any of that? Like the Russia, Glenn is talking about, just like he aided Ukraine from Russia. We use that system that Ukraine, when Elon helped Ukraine, we gave that information as an example of what the end times are going to be like. I wish I'd have known that he was the. I wish I knew that he was the guy that was going to come up with the the way to do it, which is his satellite system. I did not know that at the time. And now it's all plain and simple. It's just easy as everybody sees it if you're looking. But like I said, pre-tribulation people, pre-tribulation rapture people are not going to be in this thing. They're gonna totally miss this. They're gonna be living in fear. They're gonna be living, if the rapture doesn't happen, they're gonna be freaking out because they're not even listening to what I'm saying and what the Lord is saying through me. They're not listening to any of it. They will not have it. This is not a popular message. This is a message that most anyone will tell you that Chandler's the only one that's talking about two systems. But as you can see, it's obvious, y'all. It's very, very obvious. Okay, let's go through here and look at some stuff that we can talk about. When the Tom Cruise movie came out, the Tom Cruise movie, did you guys see the Tom Cruise movie, The Mission Impossible? Tom Cruise, I don't know what he believes, but it's not like we believe. I know that I'm not a Tom Cruise follower, except I think he seems like a really cool guy. But as far as following him and thinking he's awesome, but he has some great movies, and I like to watch a good movie. So his movie came out, Mission Impossible, and guess where the place that he decided to visit during the Mission Impossible opening up date? Guess what? Guess what city he visited? Tom Cruise. Anybody know? So Angela from South Carolina says, no, I thought about seeing it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of an end time thing in a sense because it's the end of the world. And when you see how he has his own idea of how the world ends and then it comes back together, it's very interesting. I don't agree with it, but it's really cool. In the fact that in the movie, I don't want to tell you how the movie is. I don't want to mess it up for if you're going to see it. But yeah, check it out. I think you should check it out. Anyway, what happened was Tom Cruise did this movie, and I went to see it. And what in all of his movies, the world's falling apart, and he's going to save it, right? It's pretty cool, actually, pretty interesting. And some of the stuff they do is really, really cool. And so during the movie, about 20 minutes into the movie, maybe 30 minutes into the movie, all of a sudden the whole world starts falling apart. All the alarms start going off. He ends up going into this big room, where you got a lot of people working, monitors everywhere, way up on the screen. And up on the screen had this huge monitors that had the number 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, along with other numbers, but the last numbers were 13, 13, 13. I'm talking about, you got to go see it. I'll send you a picture of it if you want to see it. I took a picture of it. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I looked up and I went, oh my God, he's got 13, and the whole world is falling apart, and he's got 13s up there. Well, guess what happened on some of our 13s? Yeah, June the 13th, what happens? The global alarms go off. Israel is attacking for the first time ever. On Friday the 13th is bombing the Iranian nuclear sites. Never happened before. And plus the fact that we gave a word about it on April the 15th, on Monday, 2024. We gave that word. We said that was going to happen. Talked about it specifically, that they were going to bomb. I saw them bombing it as like when the bomb went off, it's like an earthquake and a bomb happened at the same time, because it was so, so unusual. I said, how did that happen? Was it an earthquake and the bomb? When the bomb hit, did it cause an earthquake, or would the earthquake happen at the same time, or what? And you heard me explain that. I explained it on April the 15th, 2024, just like that. I said, I'm not sure. It just didn't make any sense. And then not long after that, as you listen to the show much, you'd know that we talked about how Israel's talking about doing things that are what they called on their show, and I sent some of you earthquake bombs. What they were calling it. They called it earthquake bombs. Yeah. So how it's going to happen, I don't know. I don't think that they're giving Iran a chance, I think, and let me tell you something. They're going to process the whole thing, not slowly, but they're going to process it in layers, because in order to take over a regime, which is the word we gave at the same time, we told you on April the 15th, 2024, that they were going for a regime change. That's what the whole thing with Azerbaijan was a regime change. And Israel was working it. And I told you that by the Spirit of the Lord on April the 15th. Go back and listen to it. Go to Spreaker, SPREAKER.com, and look up PGN or Randy, and you'll find it. It's right there. You're going to find it. It's right there. Okay? It's all documented. Everything I'm telling you has been documented. I've gone back and listened to it myself several times. How we said on that show that Iran is going to be attacked by Israel, some kind of a earthquake bomb, and that was something he showed me in 2008, 2009. And then I just happened to talk about it for some reason out of the blue. I'm talking about that and Azerbaijan. And the Azerbaijan part of the word, if you go listen to it, specifically says this because they're going to take over. That it's the taking over of Iran, is the reason that they're working through Azerbaijan. 34 days later, the president died in a helicopter crash in Azerbaijan. Never talked about country ever. Nobody ever talked about Azerbaijan, but we did. Because the Lord showed it to me years before it was going to happen. All right, very interesting. All right, Nikki is saying, do you think that we are in Ezekiel 38 and 39? I'm in Dallas. I'm in Dallas. Okay, I know you're asking me about that. What is it? I don't know what Ezekiel 38 and 39 is exactly. What is Ezekiel 38 and 39? Anybody know? If somebody could tell us what that is, because there's a lot of different opinions on it. So if you can more specify that, and maybe if you don't know either, maybe somebody else can help us out with that, help Nikki and I out with that. What is, she's asking, do you think we're in the Ezekiel 38, 39? It's a very well-known topic that a lot of people talk about, a particular war, and I think she's asking about the war. And maybe if Nicole happens to be listening, she's very much up on that. I am not. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me specifically. I know it has to do with, is that the last war, the war of Gog and Magog? Okay, but what does that mean? What is that? That doesn't, to me, that doesn't change it much when you say the war of Gog. I know what you mean, and you're trying to specify it. Thank you for that, Glenn. But what is Gog and Magog? Give some English in that. Speak some English to some of us who need it. It's talking about Russia. That's Russia, right? Be specific. Give us the name of the countries that maybe people say. It's not necessarily what you believe, but what people say Gog and Magog is, or 38 and 39. So if you could give us what Gog and Magog is, because most people that don't know anything about prophecy go like, who's Gog? Who's Magog? We don't know who that is. So give us a little bit of a short explanation. That is Russia, right? And so a lot of people are afraid of Russia right now. All right. Thank you, Glenn. It says, I will put the hooks into jaws of the king of the north and bring him down to the mountains of Israel. Who's the king of the north? When you say the king of somebody or whoever, can you say the country that you're talking about, if you know, if you don't mind? And thanks for your help on that. And maybe, I know Nicole knows a lot about that, so she's listening. Maybe she can help us out on it. Maybe she may not be listening tonight, but okay, so yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. That's a really good question. Thank you, Nikki, for that. And we're going to try to break it down so people who are like me, I'm very prophetic. Many believe that it is Russia. Yeah, you don't have to say what you believe, but just kind of what people say. Okay, there you go. So very good, Glenn. Thank you for that. Many believe it's Russia, that Gog and Magog. Russia comes down to the mountains of Israel. What? Russia's going to attack Israel, and that's kind of a big end time sign. Is that what that means, according to some people? I'm going to give him a chance to answer that. So thank you for your help on this, because I would just have to be looking at what people say, because I'm not that familiar with some of this stuff. All right. So we'll get some help on this, hopefully. All right. As Glenn is looking it up, and then hopefully other people who are interested in that subject and know a little bit about it, or maybe can do some quick research on it, can give us some ideas of what they think that the king of the north, like a lot of people, the king of the north of what? The north of Alaska, the north of America, the north of England, the north of UK, the north of Israel. Yeah, the north of Israel. Because Israel is, well, yeah, hang on a second. Yes, because Russia is north of Israel. So it pretty much means that pretty much makes sense that it would be Russia that comes down upon the mountains of Israel. I don't think we're going to get real far on this one. I don't think, because I am not a Bible prophecy teacher, so I can only tell you what other people say, and I could Google that just like anybody else. but right now I can't really answer that real good unless we get some good help here and get some possibilities of what that means. All right. So um, I'm sure people are trying to look up stuff on that. All right. So, okay. Yeah, the Tom Cruise movie, which had the 13s in it. I couldn't believe all the 13s it had in it. I mean, like, I'm talking about in one shot on a board of when the whole world starts falling apart. They go into this, you know, room where they, the global people talk about what are we going to do about this problem, and it had 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13 on the up on the board. It was amazing. I even took pictures of it. It was so amazing. I couldn't believe it. And so anyway, I thought it was interesting that of all the towns that Tom Cruise chose to come to is my town. The North Park Theater, which is where I go when I want to watch a movie, is about 4.9 miles from my house. And I thought it was really interesting. I'm not a Tom Cruise guy. I mean, I think he's cool, but his belief system and all that, I'm sure, is just really, not like ours. But it's really, really unusual that he decided to come 4.9 miles from my house to be there. He was actually there because the people told me that he was there. And one of the ladies who checks you in when you get a ticket, he said, "Did you know that Tom Cruise is here?" And I'm going like, "What?" He actually showed up. People were just excited about it. People really like Tom Cruise, I think. So anyway, okay. So here we go back to uh, now we're getting back into just a bunch of language here. It says the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Meshach is due north of Israel, and many believe that's why it's believed to be Russia. Okay, all right. So what does that mean, though? I mean, what does that have to do with anything? Oh, that's Nikki saying it. Nikki said that. Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, I thought that was Glenn saying it. Sorry. Okay, no. Okay, here's what Nikki says. Sorry about that, y'all. But I believe that it is Russia, North Korea, and other countries aligned together. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Interesting. What's the call-in number? Okay. Hang on a second. Okay. Okay, Nikki says, as some of the whole story in 38 and 39, there's a war. God comes and defends Israel, and Israel finds out that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, and the whole world knows that He is God. Okay. Yeah, Daryl Paul just said something really cool. Uh, Daryl says it's because I told everybody that the theater that Cruz showed up at, uh, for his movie premiere, that very movie theater is right down the road from me, 4.9 miles. And Glenn's and Daryl says 4.9 miles, 4 plus 9 is 13. I know. I thought about that. I did think about that, but I didn't say anything about it. Yeah. Yes, Daryl Paul, that is exactly right. I did think about that. Actually, it says when you put it in there, one of them says 4.9, the other one says 3.9. So I put 3.9, 4.9. It's somewhere between 3.9 and 4.9. I thought that was good enough for 13. Yes, exactly. Thank you for that. That is exactly right. All right, so let's go here and let's talk to Glenn. I don't want to get real heavy with this, but let's try to talk about it. All right, man, you there? Okay, there you go. I got you. I got you on now. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, prophecy students, yeah, this is one of the big ones. I mean, everybody tries to figure out, like, what is the order of prophetic events before the Messiah returns? And so Ezekiel 38 and 39, they almost say the same thing, two chapters in a row. Chief Prince of Meshach, Tubal, I'm going to put a hook in your jaw. It's like a fisherman. I'm going to reel you in like a fish on the mountains of Israel, and I'm going to knock the living snot out of you, and I'm going to leave a sixth of you to go run back home to mama, but the rest of you are going to be eaten by the vultures. So basically, God is going to reel in this king of the north. He's going to bait him in, and basically he's going to knock him upside his head, and give him the knockout punch of his whole life. And the thing is who exactly is it? When does it happen? And so it's just all part of the prophetic timeline of are we there yet or not? Is America involved? But again, the prophetic realm doesn't always agree with each other. There's a lot of different comments, but they all don't say the same thing.
Right.
It's just that it's always of interest that this has evidently never happened before. Most people say, well, if they can't find any kind of evidence or writings on this, that it could have maybe happened before, but most people believe it hasn't happened. And so this is one of these big delay prophecies, way back from Daniel, Ezekiel, all the old time prophets. They got, the whole theory of the tribulation being 7 years it comes from the Old Testament, and it's kind of a cheesy thing when you see how that they add up, multiples of 7 years. So there's like 68 years of weeks, and it leaves one year or 1 week of year, which is 7 years. And then you get in Revelation, it says that there's 1,260 days from here to here, and 1,335 days. So, a person can blow their mind, by just trying to absorb everything and trying to figure it all out. But people get there and they at least know about it, and so everybody will just discuss. Like she said, do you think we're there?
Right. So do you think that when she's asking me if we're at Ezekiel 39, 38, and 39, is she saying you think that she's saying because the attack on Iran facilities, nuclear facilities, that's kind of like a big thing? Because I know that we had, like I said, and I repeated this a bunch of times, but we gave that word here on the show on, and I keep repeating the date because I want people to look it up so they'll see for themselves that I'm not just talking. That we said on April the 15th on a Monday that I saw in 2008, 2009, I saw Israel bombing Iran's nuclear sites, and it looked like an earthquake had happened at the same time, but I couldn't tell. I said it's either the bomb made the earthquake happen or an earthquake happened at the same time. And that's really what I said. And that's on the show, and you can see it there. And so now this has never happened before. So you think that she's asking, and people are wondering, Glenn, if that this could be that beginning of that war.
Yeah, or that it could lead to it. See,
Lead to it.
it
Okay.
all depends on who the players are. I mean, when you look at the chief prince of Meshach at Tubal, I mean, you're going back to some old map with some old city that was called something else. So if it's straight up forward that, there's no doubt that Meshach is Moscow, then, you got something. But then the thing is, all the prophetic words that people have spoken, like she said, it would be Turkey, it would be Russia, it would be, you also got the potential, 100 million man army from the kings of the east that have to come across as part of prophecy. And the thing is all those years that China was not allowing girls to live. They would actually allow all the boys to live, but not the girls. And so now China has a huge problem where they have so many men that they don't even have women to have wives. So the fulfillment of the 100 million man army, if it's totally literal, which I think it is very possible by gathering all the men from, China, Korea, everything over there, that's possible. So now we're all looking at the possibility that this war, call it Armageddon, I mean, how close are we, and is this a trigger to seeing, this happen? Now, the problem is, you mentioned this when we were texting, Russia is really got their hands tied with Ukraine. I mean, when they tried to shut down the Ukraine's internet and their capability of, figuring out what all the rigmarole was, that's when Elon turned Starlink on, because he didn't want to have Russia, have the upper hand and do something he thought it wasn't right. So now the thing is I mean, Russia, the question would be, if, like right now, Russia is supposedly watching what we do if we get involved with Israel, because there had been some, let's just say some people have mentioned that Trump was going to be involved to some degree. Now, up to this point, he has said we back Israel, but basically Netanyahu is all but begging Trump to get in this and actually ask them to assassinate the Iranian dictator, Khomeini.
Yeah.
But I think Trump really knows that if he did that, I mean, we would probably be looking at nuclear war. So I think he's smart enough not to go that far.
Yeah. Well, hang on with that for a second. Let's talk about that for a minute. So I think, anytime that, like a lot of countries we have seen where one day America goes in there and whacks the dictator, and then you get some guy comes up in there and he just messes up everything. In other words, to me, part of the strategy needs to be that people who have dealt with taking over nations before and whacking a leader need to understand that who could get in position. They're going to have somebody in position. And I think that from the word I got in 2008 and 2009, and I shared that word with Cindy Jacobs, and they know about this, that I said Azerbaijan was going to be used to take over Iran. And I wasn't sure that Azerbaijan was going to take Iran. And so Azerbaijan, which is a little country right next to Israel, is very, very friendly with Israel. I mean, Azerbaijan is right next to Iran. Azerbaijan is right next to Iran. Okay, make sure I say that right. So, and Israel and Azerbaijan have been friends for years. I did research on their president. They've had the same president since 2008, 2009. I did research on it again recently. And they had the same guy that I did research on him in 2008, 2009. He's a pretty good guy. He's a Muslim. But the Azerbaijanis, Glenn, are very low-key Muslims. They're not like wanting to kill everybody. They're very good. They're very good friends with Israel, which tells you a lot. So when Azerbaijan was used in part to take down the president of Iran in 2024, May the 19th, 2024, that was a sign to me, and that's why I came on the show and I told everybody, I texted everybody, I said, y'all, I'm going to talk about Azerbaijan tonight, and I'm going to talk about some things that are very secret that most people don't know, and that is, and I said, please pray for me because I could get in trouble over this. So I came on the show that night after I texted everybody and said, please pray for me. And I courageously, by the grace of God, he gave me the courage. And I said, Azerbaijan is the secret plan of Israel helping to take down Iran. So why wouldn't Azerbaijan's leader, who Aliyev, I can't even say his name right now, Aliyev, Alieva, something like that, Aliyev, he's a very nice guy, as far as, a human being could be, and a Muslim. And they're very good friends. They've worked together in intelligence. Why wouldn't, along with the word that I got, why wouldn't Azerbaijan's leader just be the leader of all of Iran? And so I came on the show that night, and I said to people, I didn't give them that part of it, but I said that Azerbaijan is part of the strategy. And as you notice, we gave the word 34 days before that also. So just to show that we weren't talking. And then 34 days later, what happened? The president of Iran went down in a helicopter in Azerbaijan specifically. So that tells you that God, not that I know anything, but that God was showing me something very strategic back in 2008, 2009. So when that happened, and now all they're talking about now is taking down Iran's regime, not the people. The people are lovely people. But just like Aliyev, the guy who is the president of Azerbaijan, I personally think that it could be a temporary thing or it could be permanent, that they would make him the president of Azerbaijan and Iran, because part of Azerbaijan is Iran. That's what it is. It's called, you have to do research on it. I studied it a long time ago, and God showed me all this stuff way back then. So I think that if it all goes through, this all happens and the regime that's what they're working on. They're working on changing the regime, and the strategy is Azerbaijan. So after I gave that word and told people to pray for me because I might get in trouble, I received, I can't say too much about this, but I had a uniformed officer come about a week and a half after I gave that, and we had a little talk. I'm just going to tell you that. And so this is, people don't have a clue. And now that we've been talking about this stuff, and people think I'm just like flapping my jaws, I don't have a clue what I'm talking about, especially other prophets, big prophets. Oh, Chandler, he just Azerbaijan. You don't know what he's talking about. And that's basically what Mike and Cindy told me back in the day, or at least Mike did. He didn't tell me that, but he's like, Azerbaijan, Randy? I don't know, man. Azerbaijan? Yeah, I don't think so. Like, yeah. But look what's happening. So all the big prophet boys and girls are missing it because their doctrines are so messed up. As far as their end time doctrines are messed up. So this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that the reason I keep talking about all this stuff and repeating it 100 times is not just so people can go, oh man, Randy's awesome. I'm repeating the information so that people can put the puzzle together in their head, and especially if Azerbaijan is used and the president of Azerbaijan is used, because he's been tried and proven. He's been the president of Azerbaijan for many, many years, and him and Israel have worked and been good buddies, really good buddies. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if when they do all this, that the Azerbaijan people and the Iranian people together say, we want Aliyev to be our president, at least temporarily, while we redo everything. So get ready for that, y'all. I'm making that public tonight. I've said it publicly before, over 13 months ago. We talked about this publicly, but and I did get in a little bit of trouble over that. What are they going to do to me? What are they going to do? Nail me? Put me in jail? They're not going to do anything. They can't do anything. These people that I talked about that met me, the uniformed officer, about a week and a half, 2 weeks later. I even took pictures of it. I took pictures of the whole thing. And it was.
Well, when you say uniformed officers, I mean, I would have pictured more of the guys like the Men in Black with the photon laser guns coming to say hello rather than the local sheriff.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. The difference was, here's the difference with this guy. And I haven't ever talked about this stuff before. I've never talked about this stuff before. So I'm going to say it publicly tonight for the first time. This man who met me as a uniformed officer is a hero of sorts. And I can't say all of it because I just can't say all of it. Just trust me. When I tell you I can't say all of it, there's a reason for it. But we met we talked. We went to a place and ate. We were eating at a place, and and he was very heavily involved. Answering your question, he was very heavily involved in some terrorist attacks in America, and he stopped them. This guy stopped them. He was very heavily involved, and I'm meeting with that guy.
And they sent him to your door because
I
of
didn't.
the
I'm not going to tell
information
the
that you.
detail. I'm not going to tell the details of
Well, I
what.
realize that. I'm just kind of
Okay.
summarizing, but
Yeah,
you
we
know,
met.
for him to come to the door and then
Yeah.
you know, so that, well, that's really interesting. You know, I'm looking at the map here, and I remember, you know, the helicopter going down. But Azerbaijan is kind of a small country to the north of Iran, and then there's the Caspian Sea to the right, and then there's the country of Georgia kind of connected to Azerbaijan, and then that connects to the Black Sea. But to the north, basically, looks like it would be Russia. So now,
Right. Right.
do you have a memory on you know, was the guy in the helicopter that was killed, was he going to Russia or from Russia, you know, and he was crossing Azerbaijan, evidently?
No. No. Uh, yeah, a really good question, and most people heard me talk about this, but they may not have got the information correct. The Iranian president was in the helicopter that went down. The president of
Yeah.
Iran. Okay, not the mayor. The president, Rashid was his
Right.
name. Yeah, he went down in the helicopter, and several of his staff members, which is the Iranian regime, basically. And so he went down in what he was doing there is they were dedicating a Azerbaijan and Iran were working on a dam between them on their borders that they were dedicating. They dedicated the Azerbaijan and Iran combination of a dam that they had built, and he was there dedicating it. So when they took off, when the Azerbaijani and Iranian dedication of the dam was over with, he's flying off in his helicopter, right? The Iranian president going back to Iran. So he passes through, and the fog, and you know,
heavy fog, right?
yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, and now that you said it, basically, you know how many times you got, you know, some rock star, was it Ricky Nelson way back, the airplane crashes all because of fog, or the guitar player here by Alpine Valley, he went down in the fog. So I was just kind of trying
Buddy
to
Holly.
remember, you know, the reason for the crash.
Yeah, the crash.
And so,
Right, because the weather, they used the weather and the fact that the helicopters were older, and they didn't have, you know. But Mossad, to me, that's why I tried to tell everybody. I'm going to tell you more about this. Once the helicopter went down, and it went down in Azerbaijan, and he was in Azerbaijan dedicating with the Azerbaijani president. They were together dedicating that. So you have to picture this. You got the Azerbaijani president. I mean, the Azerbaijani president and the the Iranian president. The Iranian president and the Azerbaijan president are together at a border dedicating a dam that the two were sharing or using, right? So you got the two presidents there together, which I'm saying that Aliyev, which is his name, I can't remember his first part of his name, but he's the president of Azerbaijan. Him and he'd been the president since when I did research in 2007, 2008, he was the president then. He's been the president a long time. Him and his father were really good people. They're really, good Muslim people as far as they're not violent. And so you have to picture this. The two presidents were getting together, and I'm saying tonight it's very possible and highly likely that they will use Aliyev, who is the president of Azerbaijan, who's a peaceful one that Israel would love to have take over Iran, because that's the word that I got, was that Azerbaijan was going to be used to take down Iran, the regime. And so that's the word I gave in 2024, April the 15th, 2024, because God had spoken it to me in 2008, which is a long time ago. And I just happened to bring it up out of the blue because I think Iran had just attacked Israel before that, and we were talking about the retaliation about that. And so when we were talking about the retaliation of when Iran had just struck Israel for the first time ever, they never struck Israel. Iran has never personally struck Israel with any kind of attack, and that was the first time. So the show came after that, and so we were I was prophesying. I said, and all of a sudden I remembered, it's out of the blue. I remembered that those two words about Iran would go down through Azerbaijan, and that Israel would attack Iran's nuclear sites, like a earthquake bomb. That's what I saw, something like that, which is a very unusual bomb. It's not well. I don't think there's one out there, as far as I know, but we may soon find out that there is. So you can kind of see that because of the word of the Lord and the fact that 34 days before this Azerbaijan thing happened in Azerbaijan, it happened on the side of Iran, but part of Azerbaijan, a little part of Azerbaijan is in Iran, and they still call it Azerbaijan. You see what I'm saying? You have to look at the map really close, and I've studied it, years ago. So, yeah, so it's pretty plain.
I'm looking at it right now. I dam. That was kind of interesting when you mentioned that they were sharing the dam. That the dam itself, half of it is on the Azerbaijan side, and the other half is to the north.
Exactly.
So they actually are drawing a line dividing the dam in half.
Exactly.
That's kind of strange, that the country line where it divides one from another. It's all over the place, wiggling up and down and left and right.
I know.
And then when the dam comes, it's right down the middle.
Right down the middle, exactly, and which tells you something. And watch the prophetic word come to pass. 34 days before that, we talked about the Iranian regime going down through Azerbaijan. I didn't know there was going to be a helicopter crash. I can't say that I knew any of that. All I did was use the words Azerbaijan is going to be used to take down Iran. That's what I said. Those are the exact words. And then what happened? The day that they dedicated that thing, they're driving off, and he's on the Azerbaijani side of Iran. Because, like I said, Azerbaijan actually it's called Azerbaijan, but it's on the Iranian side. So when they went down in that little area right there. And so look what happened. What went down that day? The Iranian regime, the president, not Khamenei or whatever his name is, not the spiritual leader, not the head guy, but the guy next to him. So you saw little by little Israel taking out all of Iran's leadership. I believe that Mossad was very involved in taking down the president of Iran. I think they were very involved in it. That's my personal opinion, because the way it happened. Yeah, they were very involved in it. They cannot admit it because it wasn't just some nuclear guy. It was the president. And when you start talking about killing the president of a country, that's a whole different thing. And that's one reason that Trump and them know that they can't really talk about taking him out. Is because just the same way that they hid the fact that the Mossad in Israel was very involved in taking down the Iranian president. Because when you start talking, look at the legal things on that. When you get a chance, look at the legal issues that you have when another nation takes down the other person's president, not the mayor, but the president. It's a whole different legal matter.
Yeah, well, the thing that the news was saying tonight, they interviewed on what was it, the Cuomo show. I like to watch that broadcast where Cuomo's on now, and they were interviewing a gentleman that he evidently was very tight with Israel and all the military stuff. And they asked, why did you hit him now, and why are you doing this? And he said, well, the President Trump said, you've got 60 days to accept the deal. And day 61, they didn't, come forward, and so they hit him, immediately after the 60 days to get a jump on it. But the main thing this guy said is that, we have Iran and the leadership there, they only have one thought in their mind, and that is to exterminate us.
Right.
To get rid of Israel, to wipe us off the map. And we can't wait any longer to stop it, so we we have to work at doing what we got to do now. So when you look at the incident with the helicopter, and now what Israel's doing to hit their targets, I also heard that there was going to be some, single bomb that was going to hit something in Iran, that it was going to wreak havoc on their financials, and it was going to drive oil up to over $200 a barrel. And that would basically be the defining end to deal with the leadership of Iran being this Islamic terrorist outline and getting back to just regular Joe, if you want to call it that.
Right. Wow.
So it does add up, but now once again, the original thought that came online here is Ezekiel 38:39. Now, here's the proverbial question. If we believe that the tribulation is going to be 7 years in length, I mean, we're shown that there's 1,260 days and 1,260 days, and so if you divide that up, also when you look at the mark of the beast, it says, I think it's in Daniel, it says in the midst of the week, is kind of when we expect that the Antichrist is going to physically walk into a rebuilt temple, claim he's God or something like that, and then basically the mark of the beast is basically kind of forced on all people. So if that's just my understanding, the way I had pieced this together, that the mark of the beast comes halfway into the 7-year tribulation. Now the kicker is,
I think that makes sense.
What is the gunshot, so to speak? When you start a marathon or someone's running, down the track.
Yeah.
There's a gunshot, to say, okay, go.
Yeah.
So the proverbial start of the tribulation, that's always been someone trying to figure it out. I mean, if you know the day that the Antichrist walks into the temple, we can count 1,260 days to the end. But by that time, there's going to be all the fireworks show is going to be extreme, and you'll talk about being in the wilderness protected, and then you've got Revelation 20 where it actually says we see souls in heaven. And, the Lord's just about to come back. So there's still souls in heaven. So if there was a pre-tribulation rapture, I mean, there wouldn't be any souls. It would have already been done. So the people argue about all of that. And so it's just a never-ending battle talking prophecy and the pre-trib rapture. Not once have I ever had a conversation that didn't end up where I needed boxing gloves. But anyway, then it says in Revelation 20, this is the first resurrection. If people would just see Revelation as chronological, then that whole spiel about, when it's coming or it's coming soon, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen yet. And the whole thing is I mean, where are we in just the, the gun going off to start the whole thing? Are we, there's people that are already predicting who the next president's going to be.
President of
the prophetic realm. You said that Mike Huckabee, you said some prophetic words about him, and you anointed him with oil and all of that. But there are two people in the prophetic that both say that Mike Huckabee is going to be next in line to take over after Trump. And then the thing is I mean, if someone's going to say that there's someone else, well, that just means that there's another 4 years before this, and then add another 4 years if there's someone else. So how much time do we really have until we really get into, the time where this Ezekiel 38:39 is even going to happen? That's what everybody's just trying to figure it out, and nobody has the roadmap, but they're all trying to put it together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal, and people are asking the question because most people don't even understand most of the prophecy stuff anyway, including myself. And so what I go by is what the Lord shows me, and then when He shows me something, then I go to the Scripture and I try to see if he shows me something in Scripture that lines up with what he showed me personally, prophetically, that's going to happen. Like I think you were the one of the ones. Also, many people have told me that I'm the only one that's talking about another system, with two systems, because most people don't even. They're pre-trib people. The reason I talk negative about them is mainly because they're not gonna believe in the second system. So they're gonna be telling you that everybody who does anything during the Great Tribulation is going to be Antichrist, or they're going to be some kind of a leader or make something or do something. And so, the pre-trib people are just not going to go along with my message on this. And now we're proving it. It's pretty well. I don't know. You can tell me where you're at on it, but we've pretty well gone through and proven that Musk is not in cahoots with Russia and China, because he's messing up Russia. He's giving him fits, man. Like with Ukraine, he went in there and messed his whole thing up. He's not in cahoots with Russia. That's just stupid, and it's worse than dumb. It's just stupid, in my opinion. You know, so to me, I know what's going to happen. We're going to have another system. We're going to save a lot of people from taking the mark, because we're going to bring them into our fold, even if they don't believe Jesus Christ is Lord. But we're going to be able to preach, the gospel of Christ, which is Christ is the only way to the Father. When the other system, the other satellite system, that's going to be running everything, transactions and all that kind of stuff, they're not going to allow that to happen. So that's why it's called Antichrist, because they're not going to be against the God. They're not going to be against Jesus. They're going to be against Jesus being the only way to the Father. That's what they're going to be against. That's why it's called Antichrist system, and it's very plain. That's what that means. So to me, I know what's going to happen. All the timing, I don't know. Just like with saying that Azerbaijan was going to be used. I mean, who's talked about that? Nobody's talked about that. I told Mike Jacobs that, who his wife is Cindy Jacobs, and I told him, we were talking. I said, man, I've been doing research on this for a while. God's been really speaking to me about this. He said, I think Azerbaijan is going to be used to take over Iran, or are they going to be taken down through Azerbaijan or something like that? He looked at me, Glenn, like, nice and friendly, good. He's a good guy. Like, Chandler, I really love you, man. You're a fine person, but Azerbaijan, come
Many
on.
bananas.
What?
You've been smoking too many bananas.
Exactly. You did too many drugs, and you really messed up. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. And so, good people, everybody has a look, but when I said Azerbaijan, dude, and these people travel the globe, especially back then. And so they're just looking at me like, Chandler, like I said, they were very nice. They weren't ever ugly to me. But they said, we're the prophets over here, and you're doing pretty good, but Azerbaijan, I don't think so. And now look at it. It's like the first sign that happened was when the president of Iran went down, and Glenn, people still don't get the powerful part of that, how powerful that was, and how important that was that happened, especially when we gave the word 34 days before, and then especially the very same night that we gave that word about Azerbaijan. We also said that Israel is going to bomb, Iran's nuclear facilities, not just bomb Iran, but bomb their nuclear facilities. That's never happened before. So those two words came in the same night from words that I got back in 2008. They weren't words; they were remembering words, and I just out of the blue just shared them for some reason, didn't know why. And now we know why. So I think that, I know it's going to sound funny, but people are little by little going to find out that, as much as I love Biggs and the cool as he is, and much his shot in the ear with Trump, he's got a lot of things really cool and really great. That whatever that pre-tribulation thing, rapture that he believes in, it's going to mess him up. And so you have most people, Glenn, that are very God-fearing, wonderful people that have a prophetic gift and have gifts that are very well used by God, and there's no question about it. And I honor them for that. But at the same time, their belief system, especially pre-tribulation rapture, even mid-trib, it totally messes them up, man. They're not going to be able to get the words from God for the end times. So I guess just you and me, and me and PGN or something, we'll be the only ones. So that'll be all right, won't it?
Well, the thing is, my friend in Ohio, when I was just trying to figure out, like, where did I fit into this? I mean, do I have a reason to be, existing? And, maybe that sounds a little off the edge, but
I know what you mean.
basically just kind of my identity, who am I? What am I supposed to do? And I've had a couple of things prophesied over me, and sometimes, okay, well, that, sounds great, but, I just don't know whether or not they're true or not. I mean, basically, if someone, just whispered in my ear and I knew there was no one standing there and they told me something, well, then, okay, maybe an angel was there or whatever. But the one thing that stuck with me is I was told I was a prophetic watchman. So a watchman is just by itself is found in Ezekiel 33:6, and it's just sort of a person that watches over something that has a keen interest in something. But my specifics was that I watched over the prophetic. So I have been watching over the prophetic for 25 years, and I've listened to a lot of prophetic words. And so my mind is like a hard drive, to where I've heard many things. And some things maybe I don't hang on to because they were interesting, but not enough to hold on to. But there have been quite a few that I have hung on to. And so basically I'm just like a walking billboard, okay, check, that happened. No, that didn't happen. And the one thing that is taken place over all these years is that the unfulfilled prophetic word list is about 3 miles long, and the fulfilled list is about maybe 3 inches long, So basically that tells us that there's a lot of things being said that they're a bunch of gibberish.
Right.
And so I have a tough time with that, because I do mention, I have mentioned Biggs. I even sent them an email today, because when you asked me while we were texting, who was the one that told you that Trump was going to be the one that actually hit Iran with the weapons? And I didn't really want to say anything until I went looking for the actual proof that I can show you at exactly this point in this video. And so I go back to the video site, and guess what you find? It's been removed. So basically, I guess I'm going to have to eat a black pill on this one, as far as plugging a guy that just because he got started by being hitting the Trump in the ear, and he did say, it got hit in the ear low, but he did correct himself by saying he added that. So I think we had discussed that, and you said, well, that's great, whatever. But, now is all these different things that have been said 7, 8, 9 months ago, all of a sudden now I can't go back and find the proof of him saying that. And so I wrote him an email and asking him directly. I said, so, dude, you said Trump was the one that was going to strike Iran. Where is that video? An automatic answer. We'll pray for you. And so blah, 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 blah. We don't have a staff, and so we may get around, but, we read everything, but we may not be able to answer. And so, that was status quo from the first time I tried to get a hold of him. So I guess I'd have to, like I say, I'd have to eat some crow here. That I thought maybe this guy, was.
Okay, that's good enough on that. Okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. Okay, got it. You're going on and on about that. Yeah, I got you. So I thank you for explaining that. That's wonderful of you to do. Yeah, we're gonna have stuff get. People are gonna make mistakes, and people are gonna add to things. And I think he did really great by just saying he got shot in the ear. I mean, he said the right ear too. That was pretty amazing. So I give him kudos for that, and other things I'm sure he's gotten right. But my main point with all of it is that, and I keep trying to tell people, if they're pre-tribulation rapture, they're not going to believe in what I'm saying. They're not going to believe this stuff. Nobody is saying there's a second system. And so because of that, you have to, take the good with the bad and know when I'm criticizing those guys, I'm not criticizing them and saying they're devils or they're not prophets or they're not men of God or women of God. I'm not saying that. I truly am not saying that. I'm saying that their doctrine will keep them from receiving the truth about the very end. If their doctrine is wrong about the end of times, the end of the end times, if their doctrine is wrong about that, they're going to be gone, or they got some other thing going on. It's going to be messed up. So how are those people going to guide us through prophetically when they don't even believe they're going to be here, Glenn? And that's why I tell people, find out. When people send me stuff, I'm going, well, okay, number one, are they merchandisers? And number two, are they pre-tribulation rapture? Because those are two really big things that mean a lot to me and mean a lot to where that person is at and those people are at. It's not that I don't like them or don't think they're not of God. It has nothing to do with that, which I've been highly criticized over, and they've been totally wrong about it. It's not true. So uh, I'm, so that's where I'm at on it. And so I think that, hey, I think it's great. Let them all stay in that mess and let us be the only ones here at PGN that are talking about it. I won't mind. That'll be cool. We'll be real special. We're going to be so special. We're the only ones talking about this stuff. And if that's the case, then let it be so. I don't know. I mean, I hope they get it, but they're not going to get it. Most of them are so steeped in that doctrine that even when the temple's being built, they're going to be going like, well, that ain't the right temple because I'm not out of here yet. It can't happen yet. They'll make up something. They'll come up with something. So I just say, listen to them if you want to, but come here if you want to see, if you want to hear what the word of the Lord is saying about the end of the end times. And that's about it. That's all we can claim we can do, hopefully do good. And hopefully we'll stay on track with that. So this is what's happening, and the Elon Musk thing is happening. That's why I'm talking on the show tonight, trying to help people understand it. Just because he created the chip, just like Big said, well, anybody, and you watched it yourself, dude. He said this. He said exactly what I'm saying. He said anybody who comes up with stuff like electric cars and a chip, he says, they're like he's a hybrid. He's an antichrist, or he's of the antichrist spirit or the antichrist system, and he's got these secret uh, covenants going on with all these other nations. I'm going like, man, when I heard that, dude, I'm going like, you started out real good, brother, but you lost me big time on that other trash you just said. So we got to work through it, love them, respect them. If they're merchandisers and if they're pre-tribulation rapture people, I just say be careful, watch them really closely because they are not going to be able to take you through the end times. And we are going to go through it here. We're going to be right here in the earth going through it. And Texas is going to be the hub of a whole system that's going to cover the globe. Not everybody on the globe is going to be on it. They're going to have two systems. One is going to be China and Russia and all their crew. Of course, going to be Antichrist. Can't preach the gospel here. You can talk about Jesus all you want to, but don't say he's the only way to the Father. On the other hand, Texas is going to have only way to the Father, and then other people too, which is going to be the freedom system. The other one's going to be the dictatorship system. So this is what's happening, y'all. And overall, if it doesn't fit into that, it don't fit in. I'm sorry, it just doesn't fit in. It will not fit in. And people are going to find out real soon, Glenn, and all of you listening out there tonight that still love me a little bit. You're going to find out that all these people that have these doctrines about pre-trib and their merchandising, they're already being wiped out everywhere. They're being wiped out everywhere. Robert Morris was one of the biggest ones. I didn't think that dude would ever go down. He was so awesome. I mean, and then he went down fast, just as fast as my friend, yeah.
But he was one of the recent ones where something from many years ago kind of caught up with him, right?
Yeah, he played around with a girl that was
okay.
12 years old, and then I think he really quit doing it. I think he really came clean. I really do believe that Robert Morris came clean. But the problem is that because he never dealt with that and told people that she was a 12-year-old instead of a 50 or 20-year-old or whatever it was, he kind of lied about that because he was in trouble either way. Once he started messing with her, he was in trouble. Because when you mess with an underage child, you're gonna go to court, and it's not gonna be good for you.
Then it's a double whammy.
Exactly. So I believe that Robert Morris is a fine person, and I truly mean that. Howbeit, he's a merchandiser, and because he's a merchandiser, he got taken out. He didn't have any protection. Merchandisers are not going to have protection, and pre-tribulation rapture people are not going to have any protection as far as the end times gospel of Jesus Christ. They're not going to have it. They're not going to walk in it. It's not going to happen. So that's why I make it really plain so people can know right up front. This is exactly what's going on. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be really blunt and upfront, and that's all.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, man. Hey, thanks for making the show more fun and interesting. I think people really like that. I'm glad you came on tonight and shared. Is anything else you want to say? Any other subjects you like to hit on? Anything you disagree with me on? No, don't you dare go there. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No. I mean, considering, what this is, where you're talking, the bulk of the people are not saying the right thing, and you are like, how do I make the comparison that Mr. Who has 500,000 followers, and your number is smaller. So
a lot smaller.
Yeah. My question is, if the Lord's giving you what He's giving you, why haven't we got the money for the studio to get into a bigger broadcasting projection to get out there more?
Yeah. Well, the one thing
I've asked them 1,000 times.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, it's a good question. It's a really good question, and don't think I haven't asked, because all that money that we spent on gold and silver was for that, right? So that was a shocker to me when God said, "You're going to take all that money, or not." We took 90% of it and bought gold and silver, which, by the way, has been breaking new records, gold and silver again, in the last few weeks, especially. Thank God for that. That was a prophetic act we did on October the 4th, 2023. That was supposed to represent the gold and silver system, and a new currency system hitting. That's why we did that as a prophetic act. So that definitely was a sign that all that's happening, and plus we know now all that stuff is happening, gold and silver and all that stuff is going to happen. So, so the question is, what was your question again?
Well, I mean, this almost, I call it turnkey studio. That's right there in Irving. I've had my eye on it for 3 years. Every once in a while it disappears, but it looks like it disappears to have another realtor come on to try to sell it. And it's just, it's $1.5 million. It's not a real big, studio, but it's like a cube, where it's got a high ceiling, it's got a light rack already in it. They use it to make commercials and different things, so it's already set up to be a studio, and it's got an upstairs, and you could probably live there. Yeah. And the thing is $1.5 million, and I'm like, Lord,
that's not much.
That's chump change.
It is.
Yeah. And the thing is why, just put it in someone's hands. Myself, Randy, whoever, let's use it.
Okay.
Use it and just get going.
Yeah.
So
okay. So the answer to your question is, why aren't we in a bigger position doing more? Because I really don't know exactly what the answer to that is, except right now, I think we have enough quality with what we're doing. We finally get the video going, pretty much. I sit in front of a screen, it has a video behind it, and we have, in a regular looking thing. We have a studio that we can do a lot of things with, that we're doing some things with. So I think until it's time for, like, a lot of people are going to have to be really discouraged, because we have a lot of people pass through that listen to us now that we're on Restream. We had a lot of people come through. When they hear my message, they go, well, I can't believe in that because I'm a pre-tribulation rapture person. I can't believe in that because I'm not a system person. I'm not a second system person. There's only one system, and we're going to get our heads cut off, and we're all going to starve to death if we're here during that. So that's what 90, maybe 80% of the people believe. So when they pass through and see us here in a place that's on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, we've had a lot of people pass through already, Glenn. And you know what they say? They say, well, man, if he believes in that, then I mean, I've never been told that before. So they kind of check in once in a while, but they don't really hang in there because of what they believe in. And now what's happening is now that a lot of those things that the pre-tribulation rapture people have told them are going to be obviously not right. Not just me saying it, but it's going to be obvious that they've missed something somewhere. And those people start actively, truly seeking something that is kind of what we're doing. It's not going to be, quote, big. It's not going to be big. We're going to be little. We're going to be small until until that, just like Joseph was in a prison for 15 years. Uh, other people were just like, were nothing and nobodies. And then all of a sudden, one day, when it became time, when the time was right, and nobody could interpret that vision, but that dream, but Joseph. And that's what God's doing, Glenn, is he's setting it up where, in a sense, to make it personal, I'm going to be the one who's going to have the interpretation of the end times. But
Okay, okay, I get you there.
people are not ready for that yet, and they will be soon.
You yourself, and I'm going back to this as far as me being a techno geek. You said that there's going to come a point that we're going to need our own stuff. And so my question to you, you're sitting on YouTube, you're sitting on Facebook. I don't believe YouTube and Facebook are going to allow you even to have your broadcast on in a matter of time. So my question, when I asked you the other day about your devices and whatnot, I'm looking forward to the possibility that we have to have our own server, we have to have our own website, and basically the only way to broadcast the actual truth is that you own it and you control it. Right now, you are at the mercy of everybody and their uncle. And YouTube, if you say something wrong, you're done. You're in the penalty box. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, well, here's the real thing, and I was thinking about this today. To kind of bypass all the YouTube, even though we're there on Facebook and all that, and people have access to at least check us out. But when they hear my message, which I talk about pretty regularly, they go like, I can't go for that. So that's normal. And so what do? We persist and we continue to give the message in spite of all that. Because here's what God told me. The scenario of the end of end times, which is what I have, is part of my calling, my business with God. And that is when it comes time for, like, the two witnesses, when they come on the scene, what's the most thing that people say about the two witnesses and how that the end times are going to be on TV? What do most people say about that? Prophetically, people.
What do people say?
What are people saying about how that when the two witnesses raised from the dead, and when the two witnesses lay on the ground for 3.5 days? What are they saying? Let me just answer your question for you.
Well, the Bible says everybody sends each other gifts.
No, that's not where I'm going. That's not where I'm going. That's not where I'm going. Sorry. No, what they do is, how does the whole globe see it? Through TV, man. TV, telephones. Yeah, TV, telephones. So when it comes time, and the situations that I'm involved in right now, prophetically, and some things I can't talk about yet, because they're just, I just can't talk about them. They're high level stuff, and I can't talk about them yet. I talk about what I can, but the stuff that I'm talking about that I have going on, that the people on the globe are going to be, I'm not going to have to say, oh, could y'all let me get on your network? Can y'all please let me on, because I'm a prophet, man. You know what's going to happen? This is what's going to happen, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I want to talk about this. What's going to happen, Glenn, is they're going to be chasing me down, finding where I'm at, and trying to get my schedule where I'm going, because all the stuff that starts going, when you do things like what Moses did and what Elijah did and what other people did when they said, by this time tomorrow, this plague is going to come. When that stuff starts happening, I'm not going to have to try to get on anywhere, Glenn. They're going to come running, trying to find, where is this dude at? Because we want to video this. We want to interview him. I'm not going to even have to have anything, dude. I'm not going to even have to have a camera, really, because they're going to be following me, trying to figure out, and other people like me, they're going to be following me saying, how do you do this stuff? How do you say there's going to be a plague? How do you say there's going to be a plague, and then in 24 hours, and then in 24 hours that plague happens? How are you saying that Iran's going to do this and Israel's going to do that, and then it happens? Like when you give a date or something, you give a time. You know what, dude? I'm not going to have to worry about buying time or having anybody how many numbers I got, because they're going to be chasing me down. CNN, Fox, all these people, they're going to be going like, where are you at, dude? So all I got to do is keep doing what I'm doing and declaring and decreeing things and saying things like what we're saying, like, Israel's going to attack Iran with an earthquake bomb type thing, which had never been done before. They've never even attacked Iran before, their nuclear sites. Never. So we said that's happening. What Azerbaijan? Nobody's ever talked about Azerbaijan. What's that? You know what? Some Christians, like, I don't want to say like you, but people that are just nominal Christians, they don't even heard of Azerbaijan. But you know what? There's people out there, Glenn, that pay attention to stuff, that are news people, that are media people, that are people who know what's going on. And when I mention Azerbaijan, they're going like, nobody ever talked about Azerbaijan. Let's listen to what he says about Azerbaijan, because we know about Azerbaijan. And what they're going to do, dude, is they're going to go, most people are not going to get what we're doing. But the people who are in the know and who know what's going on, and when you mention something, they're going like, nobody's ever done that before. How is he doing that? Because most Christians are going to go, oh, you know what? Look at Brother Chandler. Looks like he got something right. He said the market was going to do this in 32 weeks, and it did it. Okay, that was nice. Oh, let's just send him a little offering. No, you know what these people are going to do who know about the market, who know that you don't do that nobody does that except somebody who's on the inside or somebody who's hearing from God. They know those two things. And that's the kind of miracles that God's been using me for already. And I'm already known for all this stuff. But the problem is, just like Joseph was saying, God, I'm doing my best here. I'm taking care of the prison. I'm interpreting the dreams. And then those guys, they don't remember me. What's going on? You know why they didn't remember him? Not because God was being mean, because God says, when the time comes, I'm going to give the leader of the world at that time, at that area, a dream that nobody can interpret but you, Joseph. He didn't know that at the time. I've said this before on the show, that things are coming, my brother, that because I don't merchandise Jesus, and I'm not a pre-tribulation rapture freak, that I'm going to be able to I'm going to have the interpretation to things that nobody's going to have. Nobody, Glenn. Nobody. Now, other people may have other things they're going to be doing, but there's going to be that arena like Joseph, and they're going to say, well, Chandler, can you tell us what's going to happen in the next 7 years? Or what should we do? Or what's going on? And I'm going to be going like, well, only if the Lord shows me. It's like Joseph said. And when he gave the answer, they said, okay, let's set this guy up, man. I mean, let's set him up. He didn't need cameras. He didn't need nothing. All he needed was to interpret the leader of the world at that time, dream. And when he did, and he knew it was right, guess what? He didn't have to have anything. He didn't have any clothes. He was a prisoner. They clothed him. They got him a wife. Man, they set him up, dude. They gave him a ring. They gave him everything. They made the whole area say, you're going to have to honor this boy because I said so. So it's not going to be that, but something, and I already know what's going to happen. That's why this little bunch that we have doesn't offend me too much, because I'm just being faithful to God, and they're being faithful to God. And pretty soon, like getting out of the prison, it's going to happen, and I'm not going to have a studio. I want to have a studio. I'm not going to have any cameras. Oh, I have cameras. I'm not going to have anything, Glenn. They're going to be chasing after me because they're trying to figure out where in the heck does this guy get his information, which is already what they've been doing for years. When I did the Romanian thing, and then 4 weeks later, the president of that country was being taken down, and then later we found out it was the guy that I poured oil on his head from Romania, and he was the one who had he was a multi-billionaire. I mean, I knew the guy, I stayed with him, and but I did not set all that up. God set all that up. And so what happened 4 weeks later? The president was going down, man, out of the blue. So when you deal in the arenas that I deal in, and things like that happen, and then when they start happening at a consistent, regular basis, like with Moses in Egypt, when he said, by this time tomorrow, this is going to happen, and then they please make it stop. Moses, please make it stop. And he said, okay, by this time tomorrow, it's going to stop. And it stopped. That pointed the finger to one thing, that God was hearing, that God was speaking to Moses, and Moses was listening to God and saying what God was saying. And that right there, my brother, you don't need a studio for that, although I want one. You don't need cameras for that, although I have them. You see what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at with all this. And until then, I'll do my best to get a studio. If I get one, I'll do my best to have more people. But if they don't show up, it's okay because I'm just being faithful like Joseph in my prison.
Okay.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, buddy.
No, no, no. How many times have I heard that?
I know. I'm messing with you. You know I like to mess with you, so I'm messing with you.
Yeah, you do. All right, well, I'll let you go. I mean, I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Later.
bye bye. All right, later. All right, that's Glenn from one of our brothers. All right, let's go here and talk to. I think Sarah has your hand up. Did you mean to have your hand up, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. So what's up, girl? What question you got, or what answers you got, or what you got tonight? What's up?
Well, just listening to the show, it is really a good show as always.
Thank you.
And if the Lord really works with you, because everything so far is, been prophetic. Everything that the Lord is saying to you and through you has been coming to full fruition. It's prophetic.
Amen. All right. Thank you. Yes, God is definitely doing stuff. Thank you.
Amen. Well, I just really had a lot on my mind, as far as the war. That's, I don't know exactly where they are because I didn't watch any of it pretty much today. But yesterday, what do you think? Do you think how do you think everything is gonna wrap up as far as, what's going on right now? Because I haven't been keeping up with it since, I think, yesterday with Israel and Iran.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a strategy going on that is very unusual. We've talked about that strategy prophetically before all this started happening, and that is that Iran, uh, God showed me in 2008, 2009 that Iran was going to be taken over either by Azerbaijan or through Azerbaijan. In other words, through their technology, through their help. Like Israel's going to work with Azerbaijan, which they're very friendly with. Azerbaijan is a small nation, but it's right next to Iran, and they're very friendly with each other. They've been very friendly with each other for many years, and so they trust one another. So I think and so now everybody that you hear is saying what we have been prophesying about regime change, and so I think that, and I shared it with Glenn earlier, that I think that the thing that's happening now, so people can get a handle on it, is that Azerbaijan is a nation that's friendly with Israel, and who's attacking Iran right now? Major Israel is.
Israel,
Israel is. Israel's attacking them. So when we gave the word that Azerbaijan would be used to take down Iran, or the regime, not the people, but the regime, and then 34 days later, a helicopter went down, which I think the intelligence agencies of Israel were involved in that helicopter going down, though they can't say that because he was a president. When you're a president, a leader of a nation, and somebody else takes you down, that's a whole different thing than it is taking down, somebody important in your nation. When you take down a leader of the nation, that's really bad. So they can't even admit they did it, of course. But I think that they did. And so because we gave that word, and specifically supposed to be Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan is connected to Iran, and they're both Muslim, but President Aliyev, which is the president of Azerbaijan, he is very friendly with Israel, and Israel is in the process of taking down Iran. So my thought is that with the word that I got was that Aliyev, the president of Azerbaijan, was going to somehow. I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't have exact. I'm not saying a prophetic word, but I'm saying this wouldn't surprise me because the word that I did get, that the president of Azerbaijan will be the president of Iran, because he's a very good Muslim. There's Muslims like Ayatollah Khomeini, who's a killer and a ruthless person, and Aliyev is a very kind, wonderful person who gets along with Israel, right? Which is a big thing. So I think that because Azerbaijan was used to take down the president of Iran, and that'll happen in the word of the Lord that we gave about it. I think that what's happening is that Israel is working the process to where the regime change. So they're going to have somebody that's going to be somebody that they know, right? The problem with taking over a country by another country has always been who's the next leader is going to be. Could be worse than the one they have now, right? That's one of the problems that they have. So Israel's smart. United States is smart. So I just about guarantee you, because of the background that Netanyahu has with and Israel has with Aliyev, who's the president of Azerbaijan, that and they're very fair, good people. That I have a feeling that at least temporarily, that Aliyev will be the president of all Iran, and to make the transition, he may stay the president. But I think that the reason I'm saying that is because they have to have somebody, Sarah. They have to have somebody that they know that's not going to turn it back into a, what they have now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the purpose
Yeah.
of all the bombing, yeah, and they're taking down, they're de-weaponizing them so they can't fight against the regime change. That's going to happen, I think, through Aliyev, and the people of Iran are going to easily vote for Aliyev to be their president. I think that's a high possibility.
Mm, I think so too. It all makes sense. But the way that you explain it and everything, and the way God's given it to you, it's just coming together, and it's making sense. They need someone that can get along with Israel and talk and and be able to make sense of things instead of just going at it nonstop.
Well, threatening Israel, they threaten Israel all the time. We're gonna bury you. We're gonna kill you, all of you. I mean, they just need somebody in there that'll just say, "Hey, we love you guys. We don't agree with your God, but we can be friends." You know what I mean? That's what they're working on. And so, ever since we gave the word on April the 15th, 2024, that the whole situation was going on with a regime change, that was not really talked about. That was not really the goal that was going on. Israel could not say that, because for them to be involved in a regime change for another country is a major action, and especially the United States being involved in it too. It's a major action of that. So that's why they have to be really careful what they do and what they say. So once that happens, if it is successful, and it looks like it's going to be successful, if and when it is successful, that happens, then we'll have a whole different realm of things going on. The Muslims that still hate Israel will find other ways to attack them, and then it will move to a whole other level where Russia, like I think Glenn was talking about tonight, and Nikki was asking about, I think that Russia will be more involved than the Muslims. You know what I mean? Because if Iran turns around and becomes a friendly through Aliyev, that uh, they're going to, it's going to have to be somebody else that comes against Israel. And it's going to be, obviously, they're saying tonight, talking about Ezekiel 38:39, about Russia, Gog and Magog, and North Korea, as Nikki's saying, North Korea and other countries that align together. I think that that's going to be the next phase. So the end of this phase means it's going to be the beginning of Gog and Magog, I believe. That makes sense? Oh, wait, wait. I think I accidentally unmuted you. Sorry, I mean muted you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I,
Can you
I,
hear me
I
now?
accidentally muted you. Yeah, go ahead.
It all makes sense. Um, it just reminds me of my mom when she would talk about Gog and Magog and so much going on and so much happening, and it just makes me feel like when I listen to you, and it just reminds me a lot of my mom.
Oh wow,
She's
okay.
a lot. Yeah, she was full of wisdom, and she spoke prophetically. The Lord gave her uh, just insight, on different things that was going on around the world. And she said, you'll see Ezekiel 38 and 39 is going to come to full fruition. And she just, I mean, wow.
Wow.
And I can't believe we're living in it. We're living in it. It's happening now.
Yeah.
We're living in it.
Wow.
So isn't that something?
It is something. Yeah. Yeah. And what's really cool is that we can be a part of it prophetically. That to me is the greatest thing. It's one thing to be honored to live in that season of time where all this is going on. It's another thing for me personally that I feel very honored that God is using me to tell the story before the story happens, And that's been very interesting for me. It's very shockingly, actually, to know the truth. But he started speaking to me about a lot of this stuff, 2007, 2008, 2009. He started giving me specific information about this. And so it's been quite a thing. And I can imagine if your mom was alive right now, she'd probably be like, you know, honey, can you bring me a sandwich? I'm hungry. I can't leave because Brother Chandler's talking. I can't get up, man. Not, I'm just kidding about me, but I'm just saying that in general, prophetic things overall. Yeah, I'm just kidding about my part.
Oh, she loved your show. She would be like, stop. She would just tell me, what did you say again? She said, okay, just be quiet. I want to listen. I want to listen.
Oh, bless her little heart.
She was a tune. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Now, is she the way that is she the way that you got turned on to the show, or did you turn her on to the show?
I did. I turned her on to the show, and
okay, cool.
When she started listening and everything, she started really getting to it more than I did. She was like, oh, it's about Israel. Oh,
that's awesome. Oh, so maybe I was being prophetic when I said, Sarah, honey, can you bring me a sandwich? Brother Chandler's on right now. I can't get up. That's funny. That was a little more prophetic than I think. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just kidding, but but yeah, that's pretty awesome. Wow. Well, I wish I'd have known more about that back then. I think I knew a little bit about it. You told me she really liked the show, but yeah, it's really interesting that we're in this time. And okay, so we're getting a question here about. Hang on a second here. Okay. Hang on a second. Okay, give me just a second here. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. All right. Got a question here. Okay, could you talk about the financial challenges ahead and how you'd warn us before about ways to prepare or steps we should take to eventually break free from the system? And this is Carmen. Okay, could I talk about the financial challenges ahead and how you've warned us before about ways to prepare or steps we should take to eventually break free from the system? Yeah, I think that I don't really know if I know enough details about that because I can't give financial counsel because I don't have I'm not officially a financial counsel guy. I don't have. So in other words, if I get some financial information, somebody gets mad at me, they can sue me for giving them information when I don't have the license for that. So I'm very careful that I give financial information. But yes, I can share some of that with you. I think that the financial challenges ahead. I think that that's a big question. I mean, financial challenges like what? The changing of the system. Everybody always has financial challenges, but you're saying the challenges ahead and how you've warned us before about ways to prepare, steps we should take to eventually break free from the system. That's a really big question. I think that we're going to have a new currency, and I think that currency is going to shift over instead of having a natural crash where the system goes down, and like in 2008, it's not going to be like that this time. It's a man-made crash. So the man-made crash is basically going to be a thing that they're going to save the system from doing the 2008 thing where it crashed and it took years to recover it. They are going to save us. They're going to try to save us from that, if that makes sense. So this particular crash that God showed me is a man-made crash, meaning that they're going to, um, they're going to make a change into a new currency because the dollar is not going to be what it has been. So it's going to change into a new currency. And because we're in America and because we believe in God and we're going to believe in the system that is going to come through Texas, then we're going to have a pretty good time of it as far as compared to what other people will. Uh, we need to talk some night about the two different systems for us personally and what that means personally. I'm going to talk about that more with information about that. But to answer your question, uh, the thing that we have now that is different from my understanding before was that I did not realize that it was going to be a man-made crash, as I've talked about several times. I did not know it was going to be man-made. And then I didn't know what a man-made crash was. So the man-made crash kind of changes things where we are, it's going to be different. It's not just going to fall apart and then we're going to have to rebuild for years. That's not it. Okay. Some people think that that's it, and that is not it. They're going to recover it. They're going to have the system ready, intact as a new currency, and then we'll transition into that. Hopefully, have time to transition from the dollar because people will be addicted to the dollar. All of us will be addicted to the dollar. That's all we've known. And to have a new way of doing business, it's going to take some time. So hopefully, they'll take their time in changing over from the dollar to gold and silver. That's what I think the plan is. It's not going to be abrupt. Now, for the people that are going to be connected to the Antichrist system, it's going to be very different for them, and that's what I need. That's what I want to talk about soon. Is the difference for us and the difference for them. The difference for them is going to be that they're going to wake up one day and uh, you know the China, Russia, Iran. I say Iran. Iran's changing, but they're going to be of a new system that is going to say you can't say Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father. You can talk about Jesus if you can't say Jesus is the only way to the Father. If you say that, you're out, or we'll kill you, or whatever. So, but those people are going to have a different financial situation because they're going to be uh, lied to a lot about. Um, there's no other way. We're the only way. We're the only. If you don't join us, you're going to starve to death or get your head cut off. But that's not going to be the truth, but they're going to say that. And so the people that are deceived are going to find themselves in a big trouble with that system when they don't realize. See, Carmen, most people do not realize of what I'm telling people is very rare. You don't even hear it from anybody that there's two systems. So now that I'm trying to prove it. I'm trying to go through with things that are already in now. And I'm proving that Elon Musk is not on Putin's side or China's side. He's on our side. He's a businessman. He may not believe in God like we do, but he's a businessman, and he doesn't like oppressive, mean people like Putin coming in and trying to take over people's lives like Ukraine. So he steps in. That's the proof that we have that Elon Musk is not a perfect person or a glorious man of God, but he is a guy who has a conscience and whatever. And he's a businessman. He wants to make money. So he's going to make money off of us, just like any other company that we have internet with is going to make money off of us. He's going to make money off of us. So, but that system is going to be difficult because they're going to cut them off and say you can't get in here until you renounce that Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father and that our system is the only system, and whatever they have you say to renounce the gospel, not renounce Jesus, but renounce the Christ of the gospel. He's the only way to the Father. That's going to be the big thing that's going to make the difference. To those people are going to have a big financial problem. And they're going to be told by that system that they're, without us, you're not going to make it. You need to bow. They're going to be lying to them. Deception is going to be a really big thing. There's no other system out there, just like people say now. There's no other system out there. Chandler's a liar. Chandler's a deceiver. But yet, it will be a system, and it will be what I said and what the Lord says it is. What we've said the Lord said it is. and it will be done. And so the people on Texas side, or who believe, not just on Texas side, but who believe in the system of freedom and are hearing about the second system, are going to join the second system. Therefore, their financial woes are not going to be that much different than the ones they have at this moment. Uh, uh, but there will be some problems because the Antichrist system is going to fight our system. It's going to try to take it down. It's going to try to destroy it. Like in Revelation 12, it talks about the beast tried to destroy the woman, right? The woman in the wilderness tried to destroy the woman in the wilderness. And so that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to destroy the fact that we're going to be providing and helping people that they're trying to put the mark on. We're going to be helping them, right? That's our job. So we're going to be fed and taken care of. I don't know how much we can prepare other than the PGN people who are faithful to PGN, faithful to God in PGN, are going to have. We have gold and silver. We bought October the 4th, 2023, and gold and silver has gone up like a big mountain. Look at it yourself. Look at the dates. I'm not just talking; it's a fact. And so those people, they're going to have some provisions through that, but and there'll be some tough times. It's going to be jobs are going to change. Things are going to change. It's going to be different. So to how to prepare for that. If you're in the other system, the banking systems are going to cut you off. The Antichrist banking systems are going to cut you off. And right now, they're going to threaten all of us. They will threaten all of us. And so, to those of us who know that there's another system, we're going to go like the lady I told that I prophesied to in Texas, in Monahans, Texas, that I saw bombs, I saw explosions going off all around her. But don't worry, not one of them's nothing's gonna touch you, right? So she goes to Israel, right? Tel Aviv, the same area that they're bombing, right? That Iran is bombing Israel right now. She was in that same town, Tel Aviv, when the bombs started going off, and she says, "Man, I remember the word Randy Chandler gave me, like a year before." And the Israeli people came and tried to get her to go down to the places of safety, and she told him, this is what she told me when she got back from Texas. She told me, she said, "Randy, I said, I got a word from God." Because I had prophesied to her a year before that she was going to be somewhere, or that I saw explosions going off all around her. And that literally happened, y'all. I mean, there's no exaggeration. That's exactly what I told her. And I didn't understand it when I got it. And so a year later, she was in Israel when Saddam Hussein bombed Israel. So how do you provide for that? A word of the Lord is nice. Uh, she took the mask that they gave her, went and laid down, went to sleep. She didn't go to a bomb shelter because she had a word from God. That's what she told me. She's told him, and I thought it was really awesome, which is a good example of what I think we're going to have to learn to listen to the word of the Lord. And most people do not listen to the word of the Lord. They listen to it the way they want to hear it, and then it's sad. So the financial challenges are going to be different, Carmen, for people that are going to be blind and deceived, and they're going to believe that the Antichrist system is the only system that to buy and sell. So they're going to have to renounce that Jesus. They're not going to renounce Jesus. They're going to renounce that Jesus is the only way to the Father. That's what they're going to have to renounce because they will not allow it there. That's why it's called Antichrist. But Texas will do it. So those who find out, that's what we're going to spend a lot of our time is going after people that don't know about us. Like right now, you have to realize, just think about it right now. Just like Glenn said, Randy, we got people out there they don't believe what you're saying, and they're prophets and they're Christian leaders, and they're not telling people what you're telling them, Chandler. You're the only one doing this. So you got these little small group over here, and then they got 500,000, a million followers who they're telling, we're going to get out of here, and there's only one system. So they're not even going to know about it, Carmen. Do you understand what I'm saying? Those people are going to be guilty of rejecting the prophet's word of another system and the provision that God's going to use to save them. They're going to be rejecting that. And they're going to convince a bunch of people that I'm full of it. So, those people many of them are going to have a real battle because they're not going to know about us. And that's why I'm right now. on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and several other things that I'm on, that we're on, because I'm opening up the door for people to hear this message. They don't have to hear it, but many of them come by and go, I don't believe in that. That's what they're going to say. You know why? Because the people that are teaching them this stuff are rejecting what I'm saying and what the Lord is saying through me, right? They're rejecting that. So what, you know what? The enemy's going to get them, a lot of them. And some people will say, man, that Chandler guy, whatever his name was, the chandelier, the menorah guy, the, candelabra guy, whatever his name was, we can't remember. But he was right. But many of them are not going to find out, Carmen, because the preachers are going to keep them away from me, because I'm not a merchandiser, and I'm saying there's two systems. They're going to keep them away from us just for that. And therefore, there's going to be a big thing for them, because they're going to be left here without a rapture, and then they're going to be left with a system that think is only one system overall, and they're going to fall for a lot of things. It's going to be really hard for them. So I don't know how to tell them to prepare. Believe in Jesus. Believe the prophets, and you will prosper. Believe the prophets, and you shall prosper. That's how I'm going to tell you to prepare. Find the real prophets that are speaking what God's doing for the end times, and listen to them. Believe the prophets, and you shall prosper. That's how I'm going to tell you to prepare. And there's many other ways that people can do a little bit of preparation, but it's not worthy of talking about right now. But the system people of the other system, they're going to either have to bow to get food, or they're not going to get food at all unless they find out about us. And that's going to be our job, is making sure that they find out about us. Okay, I'm repeating myself, which is really a good thing, but at the same time, hopefully I answered that question. Hey, are you still awake? Sarah, sorry I got off on that.
I'm still listening to the show. And remember how a lot of people were like, I don't know, I wouldn't say a lot of them, but some people, I guess you would say, well, I'm going to live off the grid when when worse becomes worse, and I'm just going to plan on living off the grid and planting my garden and vegetables and, different things of that nature.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that one? Is that still in effect? Like, some people are going to want to.
Oh yeah, there'll be there's
off grid.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of everything. We're going to have people living off gardens. Yes, there's going to be a lot of different ways people are going to get fed. Sometimes God's going to rain down manna. Sometimes it's going to be they're going to have a garden in the backyard, and they may get kind of skinny, but they're going to eat and live. But at the same time, you got to keep in mind, we're going to have a Texas system. That Texas is going to have a system that is going to bring provision to people. It may not be as much as we have right now, but because of Texas and what God is doing with Texas and the system with Texas, we're going to have, a system that's going to help take care of people. So it kind of changes the fact that, you're going to have a garden just to live. Well, a garden will just probably help you live better, but Texas is going to be used, and the system that's going to be global from Texas, and the ability to have transactions, when the Antichrist system is not going to allow you to have any transaction if you believe that Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father. Or if you don't want to bow to their system, there's going to be a lot of heathens. There's going to be a lot of religious people who don't believe like we do. They're going to say, I don't like Russia. They're not going to believe like us, like Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father. But they're going to say, man, I don't really, just like Elon Musk. He didn't like the way Putin was treating Ukraine, so he went in there and stopped him. There's going to be a lot of Muslims, a lot of people that are not going to believe like we do, but they're going to say, I know one thing, Russia and China, that's bad news. So they're going to come to us.
Yeah, I believe it. They're going to come to us.
Yep, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be awesome, and it's a process. You can tell right now that the reason I'm bringing up the two systems and comparing the deception that they're going to be telling people that, we've got that other system, we're fixing to nail them. Just like Putin kept saying, we're going to get Ukraine, we're going to take down. We don't care what Elon Musk does. We don't care, And he kept lying and saying all kinds of things, and he's still trying to win that war. He should have won that war 3 years ago. He's still trying to win it because one guy stood up and gave him a system that they could communicate. So that's the same thing that the Antichrist is going to do. They're going to be threatening people, saying, we're going to go, we're going to take you down. We don't care what you go. We're on our way right now. We're going to take you down. And they're going to lie and they're going to deceive and they're going to think that they're going to win. But we're going to be giving fits the whole way through. We are going to give them fits all through the Great Tribulation.
That's all right. That's good.
Yeah, that's our job.
Good. It's coming so quick. Everything's moving at a rapid pace. It's like, woo. 1 minute it's this, another minute it's this going on, and Iran and Israel, they're at each other, and on one side of the coin it's something else. We're doing something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's getting crazy.
Got ready at all times. Yeah.
Right. Glenn is saying something here. He says, right now, might help Carmen with her answer. Right now, the world is in preparation to make the leap into the next technology in economics. The controlling people, the deep state, want to create the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. That will give them the ability to turn access of your money off and on anytime they want. We have to have a system of our own with gold, silver, crypto to pay whatever the needs are. And that's why Elon Musk in Texas is already proven that he may not be a Christian like us, but he says, man, I don't like those guys at all. And so he's on our side, basically. And he's going to make a lot of money. He'll always probably be really, really rich. Because when you have the only internet system in the world, or not the world, half the world, he's going to be pretty rich off that. Yeah, so we're going to have money to pay him. We're going to have money to be on. Go ahead.
Well, I just think, we can just pray for Elon Musk. That, he's already seeing the light. So, as far as what's going on out there, and just that the Lord will lead and guide his footsteps, because I believe he's going to eventually come on over. I mean, the pathway's already been made. And it's like God knows the end from the beginning. And certain people are in place right now because that's the way God has it. And it's got to be like that in order to fulfill revelation, in order to fulfill the prophetic, and make it happen. It's got to be different people in place, in other words, so that it can come to full fruition, and also to prepare for the coming of Jesus.
Good, very good, yeah. Now, who'd you say is going to come over? You talking about Elon, or who are you talking
about?
Elon, yeah. Well, we pray that he will, and we always pray for everybody that he will. But one thing that he will be doing, I think, and that he's already proven, is that he gives us our right to, kind of like Cyrus did. Cyrus gave Israel the right to worship he didn't worship their God, but he gave them the right to worship their God. Right, that's what Cyruses do. Cyruses aren't necessarily. I think Elon Musk could be the Cyrus, the new Cyrus, other than Trump. For the globe, in that you can come on my system as long as you pay me. Pay just like you would anybody else pay him, and you can say whatever you want to say. You can believe in any other God you want to believe in. So I think that's what Elon Musk's basic overall system is. And kind of like Cyrus was not a worshiper of God, but he told Israel, he said, you guys can worship your God if you want to. And so that's what happened. And yeah, so we hope Elon will come in. And who knows, he might be on his way right now. I really don't know about him. I just know that what I get from the Lord about the system, and then he's the one who's heading that up. So you have to honor God in that, and know that he's going to be used mightily. All right, again, the scripture, Revelations 12:6 and 14. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God. The woman was given the two wings of the great eagle so that he might fly into the place prepared for her in the wilderness, where she would be taken care of by God? I've asked that question because we have new people that haven't heard what you spoke in the past shows. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, good idea. And so, yes, we have talked about this because, I don't know if you've listened to pre-tribulation rapture preachers preach, and they're really good people, but their doctrine's just totally messed up on this. I mean, they're like twisted sister stuff to me, but their gospel toward Jesus and getting saved is good, but not this. And so what they say is, if you're going to be here during the Great Tribulation, uh, then in the 7 years, the tribulation, the Great Tribulation, what are you going to call it? Then you're going to either get your head cut off or you're going to starve to death. And that's the two options that they give anybody. But the scripture in Revelation 12 says, it's talking about the last 3.5 years. The woman fled into the wilderness because the devil chased her there, and she was given a place to be taken care of by God. So God, the Bible says during the Great Tribulation, at least we know a large group of people is going to be taken care of. They're not going to starve to death or get their heads cut off, because it says, and in the rest of that scripture, if you read the rest of that scripture, it says that Satan can't even go there. He can't even go to that place. That's what the Bible says. So God has a place that he's going to provide for us that Satan can't even go there. His presence would not even go there. And then it says that he gets mad and he goes the other direction. Why don't you put that scripture up, the rest of that scripture up, Carmen, if you're still listening? If you put the rest of that up, where it says that, and Satan cannot be found anywhere, or his presence is not known there. So that's a really big part of that scripture, is that I've talked about that in the last week or so, a couple of times, maybe several times, using that very scripture. So it says that the Satan is not even in that area. He can't go there, and that's why he got mad, and then he turned on another group of God's people. So there's going to be different groups of God's people around, and that scripture makes it very plain. Revelation 12, 6 through 14 through 20, wherever it's at, I don't know what it is, but just read the whole thing. It's very plain that we're not going to starve to death or get our heads cut off. Satan can't even go there, to that area. All right?
All right. I understand that. I mean, I know he's going to provide for us. He always does. Just when we think, oh, it's, I just know he's going to provide for his children.
Yeah, he really is. And the reason that doctrine is so bad is because it does away with that. It totally disengages that information from your mind. And it's such a lie from hell. And they don't know it. They're good people, but it's a lie from hell. And okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just reading Revelation. You said 6 through 12.
Yes, let's read it right now. Let me read it right now. Yeah, Revelations 12, chapter 12. And you see, read the whole thing. It talks about, we can just read the whole thing. I can just read the whole thing here. Okay, let's go here. Okay. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. Some people say that's Israel. Some people say it's the church. In this case, it doesn't really matter who it is. It's a woman representing the people of God. All right. With the moon under her feet and a crown under 12 stars on her head, she was pregnant and cried out in pain and gave birth. Verse 3, then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on his heads swept a third part of the stars out of the sky, was flung to the earth, which is what Michael did to him. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth to the child, to devour the child when it was born. She gave birth to a son. It was a male child, was to rule the nations, and was caught up to be with God. Verse 6 says, the woman fled into the wilderness, a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 3.5 years. All right. Then war broke out in heaven. It's just another way of saying the scripture. Michael cast the devil out, which is basically saying the same thing. The devil goes after the woman, and so verse 9, the great dragon was hurled down, the devil, and Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, "Now has come salvation in the kingdom of our God and the authority of our Messiah. For the accuser of the brethren has been, and sisters have been, who accuses before God day and night, have been hurled down, and they overcome by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives unto death." Uh, okay, so therefore rejoice in heavens. Before you. Okay. Okay, the dragon. Let me, huh?
Go ahead. I'm listening to you.
Okay, let me. It's a lot. It really kind of repeats itself with interpretation. Here's number 13. It's amazing that this is verse 13. It starts out with verse 13. The dragon pursues the woman. When the dragon saw that he had been hurled to the earth by Michael, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. The woman was given 2 wings as an eagle, that she might fly and be prepared, a place prepared for her in the wilderness, where she would be taken care of for a time and a half, out of the reach of the serpent. Look at that. Verse 14 says, out of the reach of the serpent, or out of the presence of the serpent can't even go there. You see that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's right there. In other words, this is the last 3.5 years. Makes it plain several times. Michael has cast the devil out of heaven onto the earth, and the woman gives birth. So you can interpret all this stuff in many different ways. One thing we know for sure, that it's the last 3.5 years, or at least the last 7 years, the last 3.5 years, I believe, that there's a place prepared for a large group of people that are going to have provision and are going to be taken care of, where the devil can't even go there. Verse 14 says it and makes it plain, right? Is that what does your version say, Sarah?
In which verse?
I'm sorry, verse 14.
Verse 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and a half. And half a time from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as of the flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
But the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river. So there's the protection right there. In other words, it says even the earth even the earth protected the woman. So you see what these pre-tribulation people say is that you're going to get, if you're going to be here during the Great Tribulation, which this is obviously, every theologian believes that that's what we're talking about. The very last 3.5 years. And so they say that if you're going to be here during that time, you're going to either get your head cut off, or you're going to starve to death, because you're not going to be able to buy money, and it's not going to be a system for you to make money and buy and sell. You have to die or starve to death. And so, is that what this scripture says? It says just the opposite. It says the serpent can't even go to that place where the woman is, where this group of people is. Can't even go there, much less mess with them. Can't even go there. And then when the devil tries to go after him, the earth even swallows up, whatever that means, that swallows up the river that the dragon spewed out. And then the earth is protecting her. Then the dragon was enraged, verse 17, at the woman, and went off to wage war of the rest of her offspring. In other words, there's a whole other group somewhere else where the devil goes after them. To those who keep God's commands and hold fast their testimony about Jesus. Now, is that pretty plain or what? I mean, you can say who the woman is. It doesn't really matter. You can say it's Israel or the church or both. It doesn't matter. It's talking about God's people during the last 3.5 years of the tribulation. But these people, these pre-tribulation people, they don't say, well, if you're a Jew or if you're a godly person, you'll be fine. No, he says everybody's going to either starve to death. If you don't battle their system, you're going to get your head cut off, or you're going to starve to death. That's what it says.
Yes.
So that's real plain. And the fact that it's talking about the last 3.5 years is very plain. And the fact that whoever you say it is, they're not getting their heads cut off, and they're not starving, because they said they have food and the serpent can't even go there. Is that plain or not?
That's plain.
Okay,
There you go.
if anybody has any questions about that, which you might disagree with something I said or whatever, it's okay. Just maybe you know somebody else who believes something different and about the scripture, and you can tell me what that is, and we can talk about it. All right, Sarah. So very awesome. I think we're covering some good ground tonight. And okay, Glenn says here you will. Okay, he says Revelations 12 actually is what the sky looks like using astronomy software on September 11th, 3 BC, which is Jesus' birthday. Interesting. Very,
Wow.
very interesting.
Is he talking about Revelation
12.
12, the
Yes.
12th verse?
I don't know what verse he's
Therefore
talking about.
rejoice.
He's talking about Revelations
Oh,
12.
the heaven.
He's talking about
Oh,
Revelations
yeah.
12 in general, where it talks about the sky. He's saying here that the sky, and like using astronomy software on September the 11th, 3 BC, which is Jesus' birthday. So
Uh-huh.
I guess he's just saying that that's confirming that that's talking about Jesus' birthday. I guess I don't know what he's saying exactly.
You know, I had a conversation with one of my friends. She's a woman of the Lord, and she's a woman of God too. And we were just having a conversation about the Garden of Eden and how it was, it's in a spiritual realm. Anyway, that's another conversation for, another night. But
Yeah,
when you just mentioned the heavens, yeah.
there's a lot to talk about with all that stuff. I would love to talk about it. If people would come up with a question, we will dive into it, and we will just look at what other people say about it, what we say about it, what you say about it. You know, we want to give a chance for people to kind of look at it from every side and let them decide for themselves what it says. Like this scripture obviously says that the pre-tribulation rapture preachers say if you're going to be here during the great tribulation, you're going to die or you're going to get your head cut off, or you're going to starve to death because you're not going to be able to buy food. And this scripture, and everybody says that this is the last 3.5 years. Not 90%. I don't know anybody who doesn't. There's maybe a few people that don't believe that's the last 3.5 years, but most people agree that's the last 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation.
I just believe God is going to take care of us. I just do believe that.
Well, that's what it says. So you're right.
I believe that. I believe what the word says. The word of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not going to cut your head off because guess what? The devil's not even going to be able to be in that particular region. I think that's what's really interesting to me is uh, that it says that Satan. Every version says a little bit different. It says that Satan couldn't even It says out of the serpent's reach. Other versions say the presence of Satan was not there. In other words, the devil himself can't even go to that place. What does that tell you, man? That's a very because he can pass through rock, he can pass through anything. You know, he can pass through stuff. So it's not about some bunch of rock or something where he can't get in. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that spiritually, it's a place by God that is put aside for Him to take care of His people during the Great Tribulation, which is going to be a difficult time. It's going to be difficult. But there, God says, I took care of her. I watched over her. She's my baby doll. She's my woman. She's my wife. She's my whatever you want to say. God calls her. That's right there. So there you go. All right. Anybody else got any questions you want to ask, or anything you want to say, or Sarah got anything she wants to ask, or what's there? But this has been a really great show tonight. Go ahead.
It's amazing to me how God took care of the Israelites, and then their shoes were not worn down, and their clothing was the same. Their shoes.
You're kind of fading out. I don't know where you're doing it. You're fading out.
Can Can you hear me now?
There you go.
It was just amazing to me how the Lord kept the Jews with the Israelites, when they had their shoes did not get
Wear out.
worn down, and their clothing,
right,
and their clothing and everything was stained, and he gave them manna from heaven, water to drink. I mean, it's just amazing how that took place,
Yeah.
How he took care of them.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And God has always done that. I don't know why all of a sudden people think that it's not going to happen when it's even in the Bible. It says the last 3.5 years. And that makes no sense to me. That's Israel. They're God's people. Now, so it's like, I don't know. And a lot of people say if you're going to be alive, if you're going to be a Christian, during the Great Tribulation, you're just going to die. They're going to kill all of you. That's what they say. They're going to kill all of you. And that's not what it says. That is not what it says at all. Not even close. So it's one of my pet peeves, I guess you could say. It really gets because I fought these people for many, many years. Many, many years I fought with these people over the scriptures. And now that it's actually time for it to happen, or for their pre-tribulation rapture to happen or not happen, it's not going to happen. So, they need to get ready. And if they're not listening to me, or people like me, then they're going to have a hard time being ready for this. Oh, God can prepare us no matter what goes on, Brother Chandler, don't you know? Now, preparation is a mental thing. You have to be prepared mentally to go through something like what we're going to be going through. If you're not prepared mentally and have scripture to back it up, it's going to be really hard for you because your emotions are going to take you over. They're going to kill us all. Like, where's that at in the Bible? Yeah, are some people going to die? Absolutely, they're going to die. There's going to be martyrs, no doubt about it. But look at this one spot. At one place in the last 3.5 years that Satan can't even go there to kill anybody. And God's got plenty of food, obviously. So anyway, there you go. All right, y'all. We pretty well chewed up on that one. That's been great. Thank you for bringing that up. It was really awesome. And I love it. I've used that scripture frequently lately because I'm trying to help people get what's going on about it. Instead of listening to the lies. If you listen to a lie, you're going to believe a lie. You believe a lie, you're going to die. If you believe a lie, you're going to die. So let's believe the truth. And it's going to be interesting. Okay, y'all. Anybody else got any other questions? Let me check my phone, make sure I don't have anything else here. Because if they don't have any more questions, I may call it a night tonight if nobody else wants to say anything. All right. Sarah, you got any more questions or anything on your mind?
No, everything's been good.
All right, we covered some good ground tonight, y'all. It's been really great. Nikki, I see you still on there. We tried to answer more of your questions. Hopefully you were able to hear those. I guess you can go back and listen to the show. Glenn came on and kind of we were able to walk through some very specific things, Nikki, in your question. So hopefully we're able to help you out a little bit on that. And yeah, so it's really happening. All right, the main thing to me is that whether Gog, Magog, and all that, I mean, it's nice to know timing, and I like to know timing, and I would love to know what she's asking, for sure. All I know is that when God speaks to me about Azerbaijan and Iran being taken over, that once Azerbaijan takes over Iran through Israel with Israel's help, and the Muslim people vote in another Muslim president, which hopefully will be Aliyev, which I've known about. I've done research on him for years, or years ago. I did research on him. Seemed like a really fine man, and as far as a good Muslim person, a good nonviolent person. So he would be good for that. I think he's the best answer for them. He's an older guy now. I don't know how old he is, but he's an older and wiser and has been through a lot, and he works with Israel. So I think he's a perfect pick. That's who I would pick if I was them, and I'm not them, and they're not me. So we'll see. But he's their best hope because he's in that area, and part of his country is even in Iran. Part of it, the Azerbaijan is in Iran. Part of it. So It's already connected and everything. We'll see. We'll see what goes on. Okay, I know that major people listen to our show secretly. So if you got that information, some of you news people, you'll start seeing how all of it works. And then when you get ready to pay me to come be on your show, no, I'm just kidding. You'll come bring your camera guys, and I'll be telling you what's going on next, and you can broadcast that. And when we start seeing this stuff happen one after the other, then you're going to realize that something very unique is going on, and this isn't just another preacher trying to raise money and have a ministry to build a church. It's a prophet of God that is going to declare what the Lord says and watch the Lord do what He says, because He's only saying what the Lord is saying. So put that in your pipe and smoke it and get ready for that, because that's exactly what's going to happen. We've been seeing the progressiveness of this whole thing go on for a long time, and so get ready. They're going to come to me wanting me to want to follow me and hear what I say, and I'm not going to pay for anything. They're going to pay for it, because it's going to be the thing, man. It's going to be like the biggest gossip column in the television industry and the talk show industry. They're going to say, "What's Chandler saying today? What's the Lord telling him?" Yeah, because it always, God does stuff through that boy. So something like that. Anyway, I'm just kind of like, I really mean what I'm saying, and I'm not kidding. But it's going to be amazing to watch. And I know there's other prophets out there. I'm just talking, but I don't know about them. God hasn't showed me anybody else. And I know they're out there somewhere. The two witnesses are going to be out there, and I'm going to be out there, and maybe some other people too. But we'll find out real soon. It's all about it's unfolding pretty quick. When the Azerbaijan thing happens, because when you got to think about this, y'all, think about what you would do if you had to manage a country that doesn't believe in the God you believe in, it believes in a Muslim God, and they have a regime, a leadership over them that's been mean and evil, and you need to replace them. You need to replace them with somebody that believes like them, but who's a good, uh, you know, nonviolent Muslim. That's what you need, right? You got to think about that. This just makes sense. So it's going to be something like that, and I think Azerbaijan is being set up for that. That's what I think. I'm not saying thus saith the Lord with it. I'm just saying that's what I believe, because of the word of the Lord that I've gotten before on it, and now we're watching it all come to pass about Azerbaijan. So the world will soon find out that Azerbaijan and Iran will be one, and I think that the whole beautiful people of Iran will definitely vote in Aliyev to be their president. I think that will happen very easily. We will see what goes. We will see. All right. All right, Sarah, I'm going to call it a night tonight. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. All right, Sarah, talk to you later. All right.
Oh, wow. Talk to you later.
Okay, thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so we are going to call it a night tonight. Thank you guys very much for being on with us. And hopefully we'll answer some questions. Please ask me any question you want. I may have the answer, I may not. I can at least guide you maybe toward the way I think about it, and you can decide what you think on your own between you and the Lord. I may disagree with you, but who knows? We might agree. Let's just watch and see what happens. All right. Good night, everybody. Love you. Mwah.